Chapter 1629, Star Ring, 1. This time, Yi Qingtang's power had not advanced much in the two-star constellation, but her inner energy had undergone a qualitative leap. Yi Qingtang opened the star pavilion and prepared to select a suitable prize for herself. There were innumerable treasures in the star pavilion. There was a dazzling array of divine weapons and elixirs. But Yi Qingtang did not need these. She had not managed to advance to a new realm in the two-star constellation. However, what made Yi Qingtang more anxious was that the martial arts championship was only a few months away. She must advance her abilities as much as possible within these few months. Although divine weapons were wonderful, many of them could only be used after attaining a certain cultivation realm. Besides the fact that Yi Qingtang had not yet achieved that kind of realm, even if she could use it, she would not dare to wield this divine weapon even if she took it. An innocent person in possession of treasure was considered guilty. If others found out that she had a divine weapon like that, they would try to kill her. So, Yi Qingtang focused her attention on finding something that would increase her abilities. There were many elixirs that could increase her abilities, but their price was exorbitant, and Yi Qingtang did not have enough points to obtain them. After looking at many treasures, a little ring caught Yi Qingtang's eye. Star Ring. When Yi Qingtang read the ring's name, its description caught her attention. The star ring allowed its wearer to pass through any world in the 10-star constellations. It also made its wearer invisible. Once a person put it on, it would hide the person's form and aura. It could only be used within the constellation worlds, and its effects lasted for 7 days. Also, the star ring could only be used once. Travel through the 10-star constellation worlds. Yi Qingtang felt an inner jolt. She could not help but recall the 9-star constellation she had visited briefly. The living things there were too powerful. However, if she could enter invisibly and exercise some caution, it would definitely be the most suitable place for her to cultivate. Yi Qingtang immediately exchanged 800 points for the star ring. She then exchanged the remaining 200 points for an elixir that could accelerate her cultivation speed. Yi Qingtang spent the 1,000 points. The god of nature, who had transformed himself into a radiant body, maintained a long stunned silence when he saw the 2 items Yi Qingtang had obtained with her points. If she uses the star ring to enter the constellation world, he would be unable to go along with her. How annoying. Why waste your points? If you want to go to the 9-star constellation, I can bring you there. The god of nature grumbled. No need, Yi Qingtang was no fool. If the god of nature activated the constellation world and she entered, she could only exit after completing her mission. Who knew what kind of mission the 9-star constellation contained? The god of the nature seemed rather grumpy, and he maintained an annoyed silence. Yi Qingtang did not want to waste any time. She put the star ring on her finger, then picked up the little white tiger, and flew into the 9-star constellation world. Yi Qingtang passed through the constellation entrance, and after a dizzying moment, returned to the 9-star constellation world. But this time, the 9-star constellation world she entered was completely different from the one she visited the last time. Now, all was pitch black and was filled with the aura of death. Where were the birds and flowers she had seen earlier? The only thing that remained unchanged was the powerful spirit energy that drifted through the air. Yi Qingtang could not help but recall what the god of nature had said. The constellation worlds changed every second. The 9-star constellation world she had just entered was completely different from the one she had visited last time. Chapter 1630, Star Ring, 2. It was twilight, and the sun could not be seen. Everything was covered by the fog, and the air was permeated with the aura of death. An eerie sound suddenly rang out of the dusk. Someone was moving between another person's sutures, and there was a bone-piercing chill. Why does this world feel eerier than ever? The little white tiger squinted as it tried to see its surroundings clearly, but the fog blocked its view. The ground beneath their feet started to shake gently. Yi Qingtang immediately activated the space ring, and she and the little white tiger immediately vanished on the spot. Just as Yi Qingtang hit herself, a huge claw descended from the sky and crashed into the ground she had been standing a moment ago. The claw was so gigantic, it was dozens of meters wide. When the claw rose up again, a huge crater, which was several meters deep, was formed on the ground. The cry of an unknown creature rang out from above their heads. The owner of the giant claw advanced step by step. Every step it took made the ground shake. After Yi Qingtang picked up the little white tiger and made herself invisible, she hid herself and watched the slowly vanishing giant claw. Under the cover of the fog, she could not clearly see what the creature looked like, but the pressure surrounded them and only slowly dissipated when the strange creature left. It was the same 9-star constellation. Even if the world had been exchanged for another one, it was no less dangerous. Yi Qingtang silently congratulated herself on exchanging her points for a star ring that could make her invisible. She did not have the ability to explore this world. Fortunately, she quickly found something like a cave and could peacefully cultivate there. Some unknown animal had lived in this cave. Many bones that were half buried in the mud were piled up inside the cave, but the cobwebs outside the cave showed that no living thing had passed through there for a long time. Even the cobweb only held the corpses of spiders that had dried up long ago. Yi Qingtang curled herself up and hid there to cultivate. Something like the wailing of wild beasts often came from outside the cave and reverberated in her ears. She sat cross-legged and emptied her mind to cultivate. The little white tiger crouched silently on her knee. It was now incredibly obedient. As long as it remained in contact with Yi Qingtang, it would remain invisible, but if it left, it would become visible again. It would be in deep trouble if its aura leaked out. Yi Qingtang had cultivated in the cave for a few days when she sensed the energy in her body slowly growing. When she made it flow through her meridian points, time seemed to blur. Only the water dripping from the roof of the cave repeatedly made soft noises. The minutes and seconds flowed. As the colossal amount of spirit energy rushed into Yi Qingtang, her cultivation realm rose continually. Under this world's tempering effect, Yi Qingtang's power reached the peak of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm by the 6th evening. She was just a step away from the fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. But Yi Qingtang was stumped by this tiny gap. The further she progressed, the slower her cultivation realm advanced. Her powers would undergo a qualitative change after the fifth heaven, but based on her current speed, Yi Qingtang would need many more days to break through to the fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. However, she only had a little time left in this world. Chapter 1631, Star Ring, 3, Yi Qingtang picked up the little white tiger and stood up. She was about to use the last of her time here to find a wider space and wait for the constellation gate to open. But when they exited the cave, the fog that filled the air suddenly changed subtly. When they breathed in the air, there was a strange, burning sensation. If Yi Qingtang's cultivation realm had not advanced, the air would have burnt her lungs when she breathed it in. What's the matter with this world? Yi Qingtang was puzzled. At that moment, a thunderous drumming sound rang out. The drumming noise was so loud it hurt their eardrums. Yi Qingtang only listened for a moment, and the vibrations caused two tiny cracks to form at the corners of her ears. Her chest ached from the vibration of the drumming. Boom! A huge black shadow slowly emerged from the mist and drew closer to them. Every time it advanced a little, it made a clear ringing sound like that of a brass bell. Yi Qingtang hurriedly picked the little white tiger and hid, only to see the gigantic shadow slowly pass near them. The shadow was so tall they could not see the top of it at a glance. It seemed to be dragging something along and moved very slowly. Yi Qingtang soon saw that a shattered bronze statue was being dragged along on the ground. The bronze statue was several hundred meters in size. The outer layer of bronze that covered it was completely smashed. Trickles of black fluid seeped from under the bronze layer, and they could vaguely see something flesh-like wriggling under the bronze layer. The clear ringing sound like that of a brass bell was caused by the bronze layer bumping against the ground. The bronze statue suddenly came to a stop a few hundred meters away from Yi Qingtang. The head, which was covered with cracks, faced Yi Qingtang. The dull copper eyes seemed to look straight through Yi Qingtang's disguise. As she looked at it, the huge cracked mouth suddenly split open slightly in a sinister smile. Puff! A huge head lowered itself through the fog. It looked like neither man nor beast and was very peculiar. It abruptly opened its huge mouth and chewed on the bronze statue's head. Large quantities of black liquid sprayed from the injured areas, and a large proportion of the bronze statue's head was immediately bitten off. What on earth is that? What is that bronze statue? And what is that monster chewing on the bronze statue? Yi Qingtang was filled with questions, but her body was abruptly seized by a force, and the constellation gate suddenly formed between her. The sparkles were especially conspicuous in the dark surroundings. The monster chewing on the bronze statue sensed the gleam of light and suddenly raised its head. The mouth filled with bits of meat and black blood suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. Alarmed, Yi Qingtang did not dare to stay any longer. She hurriedly picked up the little white tiger and rushed through the constellation entrance. As the constellation entrance closed, Yi Qingtang saw an enormous claw, large enough to cover the sky, hurtling towards her. Boom! The instant the giant claw descended, the constellation gate suddenly disappeared. When she came to her senses, Yi Qingtang realized she was in the illusory void. The radiant body of the god of nature was wriggling about indolently. The radiant body noticed that Yi Qingtang had returned, but it seemed to have made an interesting discovery, and it circled Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang saw that the radiant body was looking behind her. She turned involuntarily and saw that her shoulder had somehow become stained with a patch of black. Chapter 1632, Fight 1. It looked as though some black blood from the bronze statue had splattered onto her while it was being gnawed on. Yi Qingtang had not noticed it before, but now she felt a burning sensation on her shoulder where the black blood had spattered on her. She tore the clothing around her shoulder off. A palm-sized imprint appeared on her lily-white shoulder, looking as if it had been inscribed there. But it only briefly appeared before vanishing. Yi Qingtang touched the area carefully, but there was no sensation. Her body did not feel any different. What was that? Yi Qingtang frowned. The world in the nine-star constellation this time was quite interesting. The radiant body seemed to have no intention of answering Yi Qingtang's question. It had seen enough, so it flew away. The radiant body wanted to know if Yi Qingtang intended to enter the next constellation world, but Yi Qingtang immediately refused. She bade farewell to the radiant body and then left the illusory void. She had a strange feeling about the inscription that had briefly appeared on her body. She had spent a considerable amount of time in the two-star constellation this time, but when she emerged, she was startled to find that a month had gone past in the outside world. She had spent much more time than in the one-star constellation world. If she had not entered the nine-star constellation to cultivate for 7 days, this month would have been utterly wasted. Time in the constellation worlds flowed differently compared to the external world, but no one could be sure what the difference between the time in the two worlds was. Fortunately, Yi Qingtang had only just entered Taiyuan Valley, and her abilities were mediocre, so she did not attract any attention. Her month-long disappearance went almost unnoticed. Yi Qingtang returned to her room to change her clothes and got ready to go out and look for something to eat, but as she passed the central square, she heard a disturbance. She looked up and saw that several of the youths who usually hung out with Jiang Xiaobai had formed part of a crowd. Yi Qingtang. A youth who was hurrying in that direction was taken aback when he saw Yi Qingtang. A month ago, Jiang Xiaobai often went around with Yi Qingtang, so they recognized her. However, after not seeing her for a month, they were surprised to suddenly meet her now. Yi Qingtang glanced at the youth and recognized him as Jiang Shaobai's friend. You're here just in time. Today is going to be fun. Let's go, it'll broaden your horizons. The youth brooked no refusal and simply dragged Yi Qingtang into the crowd. Two slender figures were fighting intensely in the center of the crowd. One of them was a youth who frequently hung out with Jiang Shaobai. Yi Qingtang had met him a few times. His name was Jiang Yisheng. Jiang Yisheng was fighting with ease. His handsome face was smiling. As his opponent fought, he saw an opening and seized the opportunity to land a punch, forcing the other youth's head to the ground. When they saw that Jiang Yisheng had won, the youths who usually trailed after Jiang Shaobai immediately cheered. Jiang Yisheng saw that the youth he had forced to the ground looked resentful. He smiled and said, "Your abilities are so poor, you can't even put up a good fight. Is there anyone among you who can fight? Call Jiang Yanyan. I'll spar with him." Jiang Yisheng's abilities were extraordinary. Among his companions, his abilities were second only to that little monster. The youth whom Jiang Yanyan had forced to the ground was part of Jiang Yanyan's clique. Chapter 1633, Fight 2, The Martial Arts Championship was imminent. Most of the youths in Taiyuan Valley formed cliques, and Jiang Yisheng was in the same clique as the little monster while the defeated youth was in Jiang Yanyan's clique. Their abilities were the most outstanding in Taiyuan Valley, and their followers were naturally equally ready to spar. A month ago, the small monster had left with an elder on a mission and was not in the valley for a while. During that time, Jiang Yisheng's abilities had grown quickly. He wanted to break Jiang Yanyan's momentum before the martial arts championship began. The moment Jiang Yisheng issued his challenge, a burly youth emerged from the crowd. He had an arrogant air, and his lips were twisted in a disdainful sneer. He cocked his head on one side and looked at Jiang Yisheng, who was filled with self-confidence. "Jiang Yisheng, you want to fight Elder Brother Yun? You'll have to beat me first. Elder Brother Yun doesn't have time to play with you." Jiang Yisheng looked at the newcomer. Jiang Yiran. Jiang Yiran was in the top ranks of Taiyuan Valley. He was a highly talented youth, and among Jiang Yanyan's followers, his abilities were second only to Jiang Yanyan. The youth whom Jiang Yisheng had defeated clambered to his feet, still clutching his head. He stood guiltily in front of Jiang Yiran. "Elder Brother Yiran." Jiang Yiran glanced at the youth, whose head was all swollen from the beating, and grimaced disdainfully. He slapped the youth's head and shoved him aside. "You're useless. The sight of you makes me sick. Get lost." The youth who had been shoved aside backed away, quivering. He did not dare to say a word. Everyone knew that Jiang Yiran had a hot temper, and if he answered back, he would just get another thrashing. Jiang Yiran then looked at Jiang Yisheng, and his lips curved in a raffish smile. "How about that? After you've beaten me, you can talk about fighting Elder Brother Yun. If you can't even beat me, there's no point embarrassing yourself by fighting Elder Brother Yun." When the youths with Jiang Yisheng saw Jiang Yiran's arrogant attitude, they cheered Jiang Yisheng on to try to deflate his opponent. "No problem," said Jiang Yisheng. "I can always look for Jiang Yanyan after I've beaten you. Ah, I like people like you who present themselves for a thrashing." Jiang Yiran casually cracked his knuckles with a clear popping noise. The two youths faced each other. Yi Qingtang was standing on the sidelines, observing the situation. She had just arrived in Taiyuan Valley and was unsure about the state of affairs on both sides. "Jiang Yisheng, let's not bother with all that posturing. If we spoil anything here, the elders will nag at us. I heard your palm technique is pretty good, so why don't we play at that?" Jiang Yiran said with a smile. The moment Jiang Yiran said that, the youths around Jiang Yisheng cheered again. Jiang Yisheng's palm technique has already broken through to the second heaven. Is this Jiang Yiran stupid? He actually wants to compare palm techniques with Jiang Yisheng. Jiang Yiran has always been arrogant and full of himself. He despises everyone except for Jiang Yanyan. Now, he's about to be humiliated. Jiang Yixing naturally did not object. His goal was Jiang Yanyan. To him, Jiang Yiran was no more than an appetizer. Sure. Jiang Yiran smiled. Since I chose the technique, you can set the rules. Jiang Yixing said, well, each deal one blow. Whoever can absorb the blow without moving will win. No problem. Jiang Yiran spread his hands and graciously agreed. With that, the atmosphere of a fight grew, and everyone fixed their eyes on the two, quietly waiting for an exciting match. Chapter 1634, Fight 3, Jiang Yixing was the first to move. His palm struck Jiang Yiran's shoulder with an explosive force. The aftershock rippled through the air, sending the crowd's hair flying. But Jiang Yiran did not budge. He simply absorbed the blow, then narrowed his eyes smugly, and said with a smile, no need to stand on ceremony. I can still take it. Jiang Yixing's expression changed. He had used his full force to deliver this blow. But Jiang Yiran just shrugged and said, my turn. With that, Jiang Yiran stepped forward and casually hit Jiang Yixing's shoulder. The moment Jiang Yiran moved, Yi Qingtang, who was standing in the crowd, could not help but frown. The moment the blow landed, Jiang Yixing's body shuddered. He tried to summon the strength to withstand the blow, but as he struggled, he felt blood rushing into his throat. He stumbled and moved back a step. Jiang Yiran laughed. When he looked at Jiang Yixing, who had retreated a step, the amusement in his eyes deepened. You should be grateful. If elder brother Yun had dealt that blow, you would be lying on the ground right now. Jiang Yixing could sense his qi churning in his chest, and he was ashen. He thought that his abilities were among the best in the valley, but now. What are you doing? A cold voice suddenly rang in everyone's ears. Jiang Yiran, who had been smiling arrogantly, immediately wiped the cynical expression off his face when he heard the voice. He turned towards the voice, only to see a chilly-looking youth with an imposing air. He stood with his hands behind his back as he watched the farce. The youth did not say anything more, but he exerted great pressure on the surroundings with his aura. Elder brother Yun. Jiang Yiran, who had acted so arrogantly, froze when he saw this youth. This youth was Jiang Yanyan, currently the most powerful youth in Taiyuan Valley. The group of youths, who had encouraged Jiang Yixing to challenge Jiang Yanyan, were now stricken dumb when they saw Jiang Yanyan. Jiang Yanyan glanced expressionlessly at the crowd. His frosty gaze passed over them without seeming to stop on anyone before finally resting on Jiang Yiran. As Jiang Yanyan looked at him, Jiang Yiran broke into a cold sweat. Waste of time, Jiang Yanyan said blandly and then turned to leave. Jiang Yiran secretly gulped before heaving a sigh of relief. But at that moment, Jiang Yixing suddenly spoke up. Jiang Yanyan, I will challenge you before the martial arts championship. Jiang Yanyan's footsteps paused, but his hands that were clasped behind his back remained motionless. Jiang Yiran, who was standing nearby, goggled. He knew that Jiang Yixing was a stubborn fellow and rather stupid, but he was getting too used to seeking out these fatal encounters. Jiang Yanyan slowly turned around, and his cold gaze swept across Jiang Yixing. It was just one look, but Jiang Yixing felt as if he had fallen into an icy dungeon. A bone-piercing chill filled him. At some point, Jiang Yanyan had begun emitting an oppressive aura, so Jiang Yixing sweated profusely just to force himself to meet Jiang Yixing's look. After a moment, Jiang Yixing looked away in embarrassment. He did not dare to look at Jiang Yanyan again. Jiang Yanyan also looked away and continued on his way without a word. At that moment, Jiang Yixing looked rather abashed, and the expressions of the other youths were even uglier. Chapter 1635, I Want Pay, 1. Only then did they realize that the gulf between Jiang Yanyan and themselves was an uncrossable abyss. After Jiang Yanyan left, a cynical smile reappeared on Jiang Yiran's face. He walked over to Jiang Yisheng and patted his shoulder. "Boy, you have guts. I respect you as a man. You've lost, so according to the rules, you have to hand over your month's allowance." The disciples in Taiyuan Valley were not allowed to fight. However, these hot-blooded youths could not restrain themselves, so they privately made a rule that they would call their fighting sparring so that the elders would not scold them. The loser would have to hand over a month's allowance. The moment Jiang Yiran spoke, the faces of the crowd of youths turned ugly. Jiang Yisheng had represented all of them in the fight. Now that they had lost, they would all have to pay up. Although they were reluctant, they had no choice but to follow the rules. They gritted their teeth and flung their month's allowance at Jiang Yiran. Jiang Yiran unabashedly swept it into his space ring. His gaze fell on Yi Qingtang, who had not moved. "Hand over your month's allowance." "I'm in a hurry to go back and cultivate," Jiang Yiran said to Yi Qingtang casually. But Yi Qingtang was stunned. She had been dragged over here on her way elsewhere and did not know what was going on. Why did she have to pay up? Why should I hand it over? Jiang Yiran was amused by Yi Qingtang's innocent words. Why? Little girl, you've only just arrived in Taiyuan Valley. Hasn't Zhang Xiaobai taught you the rules here? Your side has lost, so of course, all of you must pay up. Jiang Yisheng and the other youths on his side nodded. They were unwilling but had no choice. Yi Qingtang, just hand over your allowance. Yi Qingtang was silent. She understood that Jiang Yisheng and the others were in the same clique as Zhang Xiaobai. She often hung out with Zhang Xiaobai in the past, so they had naturally assumed that she was one of them. So she also had to pay her share of tribute. But Yi Qingtang had no allowance. During her month in the two-star constellation world, she had missed the distribution of the allowances. She had thought of just handing over her allowance, but she had none. Hey, why are you so quiet? Don't waste my time. Hurry up. Jiang Yiran was growing impatient. I don't have any. Yi Qingtang sighed softly. She really had nothing to say about this turn of events. You don't have any? Now Jiang Yiran was really amused. Alright, you don't have to pay up. If you can beat me, I'll waive your share. How about that? The youths could not help but worry as they watched the situation unfold. Yi Qingtang had only just arrived in Taiyuan Valley. How could she possibly be a match for Jiang Yiran? Yi Qingtang, just hand over your allowance. If you have any issues, you can discuss it with Xiaobai when she gets back. This one of the valley's rules. You don't have a choice. Just hand it over. Yi Qingtang looked at the crowd that was trying to persuade her and sighed softly. She looked at Jiang Yiran and said, as long as I can beat you, I don't have to pay. Yi Qingtang's words shocked everyone. Jiang Yiran glowered at Yi Qingtang. He studied her and then suddenly laughed. Sure, I always keep my word. If you can beat me, I will not only waive your share, but I will waive all their shares too. How about that? Jiang Yiran thought that Jiang Yisheng was rather stupid, but here was someone who was even more stupid. Jiang Yisheng and the others goggled. Yi Qingtang, don't be rash. You can't beat him. Chapter 1636, I want pay, 2, it's not too late to turn back. All you have to do is hand over your allowance, and you won't suffer physically. Jiang Yiran smiled as he looked at those who were trying to dissuade Yi Qingtang. That's not necessary. Yi Qingtang shook her head. Jiang Yisheng and the others wished they could drag Yi Qingtang back. The little monster was absent, and Jiang Yisheng, the most powerful among them, had been defeated. How could a rookie like Yi Qingtang possibly be a match for Jiang Yiran? It's up to you. I won't bully you. You can decide how we should compete, Jiang Yiran said graciously. Yi Qingtang thought for a moment and said, just now you compared palm techniques. Now, let's compare finger techniques. Jiang Yiran burst out laughing at Yi Qingtang's words. If his companions had not left with Jiang Yenyun, the surrounding area would be ringing with laughter. You want to compare finger techniques with me? Are you sure? The corners of Jiang Yiran's eyes crinkled with amusement as if he had just heard a really funny joke. Jiang Yisheng and his companions went berserk. Yi Qingtang, Jiang Yiran's finger technique is one of the best in Taiyuan Valley. Are you crazy? Don't be a fool. Just hand your allowance over and come away with us. No matter what, others thought that Yi Qingtang was part of their clique. If Jiang Yiran managed to humiliate them again, their reputation would be trampled in the mud. I'm sure. Yi Qingtang nodded. Before Jiang Yu left, he had mostly taught her the finger technique, and that was what she had practiced the most in the two-star constellation world. Alright, since you insist, I won't say anything else lest others say that I bullied you. I'll let you go first. If I move by even an inch, then I'd have lost, Jiang Yiran said patronizingly. Okay. Yi Qingtang nodded. Jiang Yisheng and the others were frantic, but they could not dissuade the stubborn Yi Qingtang. Where did Xiaobai find this crazy girl? It's bad enough that she insisted on walking this fatal road, but she won't listen to our advice at all. Jiang Yiran lazily stood there and tilted his chin, signaling Yi Qingtang to begin. Yi Qingtang slowly stepped forward. She reviewed the scene where Jiang Yu had first demonstrated the finger technique to her. After a moment, she looked up and slowly raised her hand. Her pale, delicate finger slowly pointed outwards and moved unhurriedly towards Jiang Yiran's glabella. Jiang Yiran looked nonchalant as if he was not bothered by Yi Qingtang's move at all. He was inwardly pondering how much allowance he could extort from Jiang Yisheng and the others. Just as Jiang Yiran was building castles in the clouds, he suddenly sensed a piercing pain in his glabella. He immediately snapped to attention and saw that Yi Qingtang's fingertip was slowly approaching his glabella. Although she moved slowly, it shocked Jiang Yiran. What is going on? There was nothing special about Yi Qingtang's fingertip, but as she slowly pushed it towards him, the finger seemed to create a sense of pressure that caused the air to condense. The formless sense of pressure was as sharp as a knife. Jiang Yiran realized that the pain in his glabella was becoming increasingly apparent. It was as if something was piercing his skull. In an instant, his face turned completely pale, and a drop of cold sweat seeped from his forehead. It will kill me. This shocking thought suddenly entered Jiang Yiran's mind. When the Jiang family finger technique was fully exercised, the power of a single finger could kill someone without even touching them. The instant Yi Qingtang's fingertip was about to touch Jiang Yiran's glabella, his face drained of blood, and he instinctively stepped back. Chapter 1637, I Want Pay, 3, The moment he stepped back, the pressure that surrounded Jiang Yiran instantly vanished and Yi Qingtang also stopped moving. Jiang Yiran was stunned. Jiang Yisheng and the others, who had been so worried, were also shocked. What is going on? Jiang Yiran actually retreated? They had merely seen Yi Qingtang casually point her finger, and very slowly at that. No one had expected this finger to force Jiang Yiran to suddenly retreat. I've won, Yi Qingtang said as she looked at Jiang Yiran's glazed expression. Jiang Yiran came to his senses and looked at Yi Qingtang in surprise. Jiang Yisheng and the others, who were standing nearby, also looked baffled. They had no idea what had just transpired. Could it be that Jiang Yiran gave her a chance? Jiang Yiran blinked. He only realized at that moment that he had actually lost. Jiang Yiran's handsome face instantly turned livid. He saw that Jiang Yisheng and the others whom he had defeated were looking at him in surprise. Jiang Yiran immediately forced himself to look calm and spoke with a deliberate, arrogant laugh. You're pretty lucky. I've been cultivating for the past few days, and the elder told me I am not allowed to spar for the next few days. I've already broken the elder's rules by fighting with Jiang Yixing just now. I've only just remembered. Jiang Yiran would rather die than admit that Yi Qingtang's finger technique had really forced him to retreat. He found an excuse and pretended to be gracious. You've just entered the valley, and I don't want to earn the reputation of being a bully. You're lucky I'm letting you off this time. I'll waive your allowance. Jiang Yiran's excuse seemed rather bald, but to Jiang Yixing and the others, it was perfectly logical. That's right. How could Yi Qingtang really have defeated Jiang Yiran? So it's because Jiang Yiran was afraid of the elder's strictures. After all, in the eyes of Jiang Yixing and the others, the gap between Yi Qingtang and Jiang Yiran's abilities was so great, it was like a gulf. They would be baffled if she had really won. Not just me, but all of us, Yi Qingtang said suddenly as she looked at Jiang Yiran, who was pretending to stay calm. Jiang Yiran was taken aback. Only then did he recall what he said when he was boasting, and his expression immediately darkened. Who knew that this girl's finger technique would be so strange? If he had known earlier, he would not have competed with her. But he had already put out the terms and could not take them back, so he could only suppress his gloom and say with a smile. Of course. As he spoke, Jiang Yiran fought back the urge to vomit blood. He now returned the allowance he had just obtained to Jiang Yixing and the others. At that moment, he was incredibly relieved that his companions had left with Jiang Yanyan. If they saw this, his reputation would be in tatters. He hurriedly returned the allowance and left immediately, unwilling to linger. Jiang Yixing and the others, who thought they were in for a bloodletting, looked at the allowance that they had lost and regained. All of them were beaming. They previously had no respect for Yi Qingtang, but now they beamed at her. Qingtang, many thanks for what you did today. No matter whether Yi Qingtang had won by luck or not, she had gotten their allowances back. They were naturally grateful. The youths who had been unhappy about Yi Qingtang joining their clique now warmed towards her. They cleared their throats and said, Xiaobai is not here right now, but we're free. We can teach you before the martial arts championship begins. Chapter 1638, Exposed luck could also be considered as a part of skill, but Yi Qingtang's abilities were really negligible. She helped them today, and they decided to pay her back by teaching her some cultivation techniques. Based on their abilities, a few tips would be more than enough for her. Yi Qingtang smiled as the rest offered to teach her some cultivation skills. She excused herself by saying that she had something on and left the place. There were only 4 months to the martial arts championship. The Taiyuan Valley would select the best 20 descendants half a month before and send them to the martial arts championship. Everyone in the Taiyuan Valley would try their best to cultivate and improve for the next 4 months in order to get selected. After she fought against Jiang Yiran the other day, the boys including Jiang Yixing were better to her, just that they always wanted to drag her to the martial art hall to guide her. Yi Qingtang felt hopeless, but she could not refuse their offers. Though Yi Qingtang's cultivation level increased, she was not very familiar with the different techniques. Their invitation helped her familiarize herself with the techniques of the Jiang family. After several months, Yi Qingtang finally met Jiang Xiaobai again. Jiang Xiaobai had been training with elders outside for a period of time, but no one knew how the cultivation was like. Jiang Yixing and the rest were terrified when they heard the news that Jiang Xiaobai was coming back. Qingtang, we still have something on. We shall leave first. Jiang Yixing's face was pale when he heard that Jiang Xiaobai was coming back. He immediately found an excuse and left. If Jiang Xiaobai knew about how he secretly tried to provoke Jiang Yanyan and lost, Jiang Yixing could imagine the pain. The other boys also felt awkward. They found different excuses and escaped. The items that were supposed to be given to Jiang Xiaobai were passed to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang felt speechless as she stared at them running away from her. She then headed towards Jiang Shaobai's room. When she arrived outside Jiang Shaobai's room, her room was not shut. She gently pushed open the door. When she entered the room, she could see a shadow behind the screen. Yi Qingtang walked over as she assumed that it was Jiang Shaobai. However, Yi Qingtang stoned when she saw Jiang Shaobai. Jiang Shaobai was much skinnier after several months of cultivation. Her tiny face appeared even smaller now. She was drying her hair with a towel. Her body was pale and slim, and water droplets could still be seen on her body. However, Yi Qingtang was stunned when she saw Jiang Shaobai only wearing a pair of pants. Though Jiang Shaobai was young, her breasts were really flat. Sister Qing. Jiang Shaobai smiled the moment she saw Yi Qingtang, but her voice felt more like a young man. Wait. Yi Qingtang felt that something was wrong. Though flat breasts were not abnormal, based on Jiang Shaobai's age, she should not be that. Sister Qing, am totally exposed. Jiang Shaobai suddenly blushed and immediately put on a shirt. She then covered her breast and said, "Don't laugh at me, Sister Qing. I just grow slower than others." Chapter 1639, Insane Luck, 1. Yi Qingtang smiled and blamed herself for thinking too much. She gave Jiang Yixing stuff to Jiang Shaobai. Jiang Shaobai asked a few questions, and Yi Qingtang replied accordingly. However, on the second day, Yi Qingtang was stunned when she saw Jiang Yixing and the rest being beaten by someone. Traitor, Jiang Yixing's entire face was swollen. He stared at Yi Qingtang miserably. Sister Qing, try this. It's delicious. Jiang Shaobai seemed like she did not see them at all. She passed all the good food to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was confused. Did Jiang Shaobai beat them? Yi Qingtang suddenly understood why Jiang Yixing and the rest looked like they saw a ghost when they knew Jiang Shaobai was coming back. It is really miserable. As time passed, the martial arts championship was about to be held. Yi Qingtang cultivated every day, but she was stuck at the peak of third heaven and could not progress further. The selection of descendants for the martial arts championship also began in the Taiyuan Valley. The martial arts championship was significant to all ancient clans. Every descendant in the Taiyuan Valley would participate in the selection. Participants would be paired based on drawn lots, and the top 20 would join the martial arts championship. Jiang Yixing and the rest were all prepared, but Jiang Shaobai did not seem to care. She did not cultivate either. On the day of the selection, Jiang Yixing and the rest were ready early in the morning. They came to look for Yi Qingtang to head to the parade square, but Jiang Shaobai was still sleeping. When she saw that Yi Qingtang and the rest were ready to leave, she just stood by the door and waved her hands towards them. All the best, Sister Qing. Yi Qingtang looked at how sleepy Jiang Shaobai was, but she could not say anything as she was dragged away by Jiang Yixing. Don't waste time here. We may get better lots if we go earlier. Jiang Yixing dragged Yi Qingtang away. Is Shaobai going? Yi Qingtang was curious. Why does she need to go? Jiang Yenyun and she do not need to attend the selection. They are pre-selected candidates, Jiang Yixing said. Yi Qingtang turned back and looked at Jiang Shaobai, who was waving at her. She was more curious. She had never seen Jiang Shaobai revealing her true abilities, but Jiang Yixing and the rest seemed to be afraid of her. With the exception of the elite few, all candidates for the martial arts championship had to be selected. Even Jiang Yiran and Jiang Yixing were not exempt from this rule. Jiang Yenyun was the top in the Taiyuan Valley, so it was normal that he did not need to attend. However, Jiang Shaobai. Yi Qingtang usually did not walk around in the valley as she spent most of the time cultivating. She was not aware of that. They arrived at the parade square of Taiyuan Valley soon. The elders had been waiting for a while, and Jiang family disciples were all prepared. They were all waiting for the result of lots and could not wait to start their fight. Elder Qian glanced at the crowd and nodded in satisfaction, but he did not pay extra attention to Yi Qingtang when he saw her. Though he had high hopes for her, she was not talented enough. Elder Qian gave her some tips but did not spend much time with her. The lots would be drawn when everyone arrived. Chapter 1640, Insane Luck. 2. Many people prayed that they could avoid the top disciples. There were only 20 positions available. Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Shaobai took 2 of the positions, and they could only fight for the remaining 18 positions. If they encountered Jiang Yisheng or Jiang Yiran at the beginning, they would really cry out on the spot. Yi Qingtang stood at the side after drawing her lots. The few young men who were quite close to her also drew their lots. Soon, the elder announced the pairs. The young man beside Yi Qingtang's expression changed when he heard that he was going to fight against Jiang Xinyue. He cried miserably as he stared at his lot. Yi Qingtang had met Jiang Xinyue once. She was able to master advanced sword skills, and she could be ranked as one of the top 10 in the Taiyuan Valley. Doomed. Doomed. Jiang Yisheng, is Jiang Xinyue sharpening the sword? The young man said miserably. Even if your opponent was not Jiang Xinyue, you will not be able to enter the top 20. Did you even cultivate every day? Jiang Yisheng did not pity him at all. He tilted his head to look at Yi Qingtang's lot. Your opponent is Jiang Lan. Yi Qingtang nodded. Jiang Yisheng smiled and tapped Yi Qingtang's shoulder. You're lucky. Jiang Lan is the weird guy in the Taiyuan Valley. He was very talented when he was born, but he wasted his talent as he grew up. Your cultivation in the past few months is good enough to fight him. The other few young men all congratulated her as Yi Qingtang's opponent was the worst disciple in the valley. Soon, the first round started. Yi Qingtang went on the stage and was about to battle Jiang Lan. He was slightly overweight and did not look like someone who practiced martial arts. He was holding a giant hammer and looked clumsy. The battle began. Jiang Lan shouted and smashed his hammer towards Yi Qingtang. His footsteps were messy. Yi Qingtang dodged and kicked his thick back at the next second. With a loud boom, Jiang Lan fell down directly and rolled his eyes. Well done, Qingtang. Jiang Yisheng and the rest cheered for her. Yi Qingtang won almost instantly. There were only a few people by the stage. She walked off the stage after her victory. On the high stage, Elder Qian and the rest of the elders all paid attention to battles on every stage. He also took note of Yi Qingtang's side. Elder Qian nodded slightly as she beat Jiang Lan. However, Jiang Lan's ability was extremely low, and the elders had already decided to expel him from the Taiyuan Valley after the selection. Thus, the elders did not care about the result of this battle. The winners drew lots again after the first round. The second round would then begin, and the process would repeat until the top 20 was selected. A few young men who were with Jiang Yisheng were unlucky as their opponents were those who were highly ranked in the valley. It was a hard battle for each one of them. However, Yi Qingtang was very lucky. All her opponents were mainly ranked in the bottom in the valley. She did not face any challenges during the battles. Initially, Jiang Yisheng and the rest congratulated her on her luck as she always battled the worst ones in the valley. However, after the fifth round, the way they looked at Yi Qingtang changed. Next round will be the round to top 20. Isn't Yi Qingtang way too lucky? Yisheng, I heard that Yi Qingtang was brought back by the domain monarch founder. Did the elders play some tricks in the lots? One of the young men whispered. His previous opponent was Jiang Yiran, and he failed immediately. Chapter 1641, Insane Luck. 3. Jiang Yisheng was also surprised by Yi Qingtang's luck. However, he knew that the elders would not be biased toward anyone when it came to the selection of candidates for the martial arts championship. He shook his head. Yi Qingtang's opponent for the 6th round was quite powerful, but he used up all his energy in the previous round. When he went on the stage, he was breathing heavily. His face was pale and full of sweat, it seemed like he could not even stand straight. Yi Qingtang's 5 opponents were those who were the worst in the valley. She did not require much effort to beat them, so she was still in her best state. With such a huge difference in the physical condition, the man still insisted to fight against Yi Qingtang. However, he ran out of energy after a short while and fell onto the ground. Yi Qingtang won again without surprise. What joke is this? How is it possible? What kind of insane luck she has? She entered the top 20. I can be in the top 20 as well in that case. After 6 rounds, many people were eliminated, but all of them stayed to watch the battles. However, they all complained when they saw Yi Qingtang entered the top 20 just by luck. Jiang Yisheng and Jiang Yiran also entered the top 20. Next, it would be the ranking battle between the top 20 candidates. Jiang Yiran glanced at Yi Qingtang. He lost to her last time, and he still remembered that. He rubbed his hands and swore that he would make her pay back if he could encounter Yi Qingtang later. Jiang Yiran's wish came true. When both of them drew the same lot, his smile was savage. He jumped onto the stage and stared at Yi Qingtang aggressively. "Little girl, here we meet again." Yi Qingtang walked onto the stage. She could tell how much he wanted to beat her from his aggressiveness. She rolled her eyes slightly and looked towards Jiang Yisheng, who was standing below the stage. "All candidates in the top 20 can go to the martial arts championship, right?" Jiang Yisheng did not understand the intention of the question and nodded. "Yes, all the top 20 candidates can go." "Okay." Yi Qingtang withdrew her sight. She ignored Jiang Yiran, who was standing in front of her, rubbing his hands. Her sight landed on Elder Qian and the rest. "I give up." Jiang Yiran's smile froze. The whole parade square was silent. Everyone was stunned as they stared at Yi Qingtang, who gave up before the battle even started. What's going on? She gave up before it even started? What's wrong with her? Her ability is not comparable with Jiang Yiran. Didn't you notice the abilities of her opponents in the previous rounds? She would have been defeated if she didn't have such luck. What the hell? She doesn't feel embarrassed. She entered the top 20 just by luck and gave up when she encountered a more powerful opponent. Is this a joke? All the young men were not happy earlier with Yi Qingtang entering the top 20 just by luck. And now, they all raged. All of them felt that they were more powerful than Yi Qingtang. They were just unlucky and met much more powerful opponents and lost. But such a useless person could enter the top 20 by luck. On what basis? Although the audience cursed and scolded her, Yi Qingtang walked off the stage. Her goal was to get a chance to attend the martial arts championship. She would only use her full strength there. She would not waste her energy here trying to get a better rank. Her initial target was to enter the top 20. Jiang Yiran was stunned as he was prepared to beat Yi Qingtang up. He opened his eyes widely as he stared at Yi Qingtang walking away. "Yi Qingtang, are you scared? You're not going to fight me?" Jiang Yiran shouted in anger. He really hoped that he could at least punch her once. "Yes." Yi Qingtang looked back and answered casually. Jiang Yiran stared blankly. What the hell? Chapter 1642, Forced to Concede, 1. Everyone was shocked after Yi Qingtang suddenly admitted defeat. The top 20 candidates who are going to the martial arts championship represent our Jiang family. Now, there is such a person inside. Won't she ruin our reputation? Elders, Yi Qingtang does not deserve to go to the martial arts championship. Those young men who were defeated earlier were all angry. They hoped that they could fight against Yi Qingtang right now to show her that she did not deserve to go for the martial arts championship. Elder Qian and the rest were also stunned. They did not pay attention to her during the selection, but no one expected that she could be so lucky to enter the top 20 effortlessly. Complaints arose from everywhere. The elders looked towards each other helplessly. The selection is absolutely fair. Luck is also a part of skill. Otherwise, why do we ask you to draw lots? Elder Qian contemplated for a while and stopped the complaints from the audience. But how can Yi Qingtang represent the Jiang family to attend the martial arts championship? Everyone refused to accept that. Is it due to the domain monarch founder, that she can be so lucky? Someone murmured. Elder Qian's expression immediately darkened. The young man shut his mouth as he knew that he said something inappropriate. Not only the young men suspected Yi Qingtang's luck, Elder Qian and the rest also held some suspicions. However, the process of drawing lots was open and fair. No one could play any tricks here. They could only admit that Yi Qingtang's luck was insane. Elder Qian's sight landed on Yi Qingtang. He looked at her in a complicated way, but the ranking battles would continue, so he asked everyone to quiet down. Though Jiang Yiran won without any effort, he felt like he had just swallowed a fly. He had no place to vent his anger. He would really fight her in a secret place if he did not have battles ahead. He had met shameless people before, but not someone as shameless as her. Everyone's comments did not affect Yi Qingtang. They would know whether she wasted this position when it came to the martial arts championship. Congratulations, Qingtang. Jiang Yixing smiled and looked at Yi Qingtang sincerely. Elders were right. Luck was a part of skill. Little girl, you're so lucky. You provoked Jiang Yiran earlier on, and now you entered the top 20. Please help if there's going to be some blind drawing rewards. The fight between Jiang Yiran and Yi Qingtang was only known to Jiang Yixing and the few of them. Jiang Yiran would definitely not let the information out. Jiang Yixing and the rest felt that Yi Qingtang was just too lucky, but they were not bothered by that. Yi Qingtang smiled at Jiang Yixing and the rest but did not say anything. Jiang Yixing still had ranking battles later and could not leave now. The rest of the men who lost earlier on all asked Yi Qingtang to treat them to a meal to comfort their loss. Yi Qingtang agreed instantly and treated them to a meal. While halfway through eating, Yi Qingtang was called over by Elder Qian. There were other elders managing the selection, so Elder Qian brought Yi Qingtang to the empty martial hall. Chapter 1643, Forced to Concede. 2. Elder Qian's emotions were in turmoil as he looked at Yi Qingtang, who was standing before him. He had not expected Yi Qingtang to be one of the top 20. Although the rules could not be changed, a lucky dark horse like Yi Qingtang was unexpected. During this period, Elder Qian had given Yi Qingtang a few pointers, but had not paid her much attention. He only knew that she seldom left her room, so she must be diligently cultivating. Elder Qian could not help but sigh softly at this thought. If Yi Qingtang had not been lost and had started cultivating since she was young, this extra time coupled with her diligence would have ensured that her mutant heavenly demon bloodline would not go to waste. But as it was too late. We will soon be heading for the island of immortal footsteps. The martial arts championship will be held on the island. You've only just arrived in Taiyuan Valley and are not yet familiar with the various Jiang family martial skills. In the next few days, you must work hard and practice these cultivation techniques, Elder Qian said with a soft sigh. They had no choice but to make a frantic, last-minute effort. The top youths of all the major clans would be participating in the martial arts championship. Even talents like Jiang Yanyan might not win. Right now, Elder Qian could only pray that Yi Qingtang would not lose too badly in the martial arts championship and ruin the Jiang family's reputation. Yes. Yi Qingtang replied. Elder Qian had always been pleased with Yi Qingtang's conscientious attitude. At the moment, the more profound cultivation techniques were not suitable for Yi Qingtang. Instead, he carefully taught Yi Qingtang the Jiang family movement technique. He told her to study it carefully and practice hard for the next few days. She could not defeat her opponents with her powers, but at least she would not lose too badly in the arena. Elder Qian meant well. If the domain monarch founder were in the valley, he would not need to worry about Yi Qingtang, but now that the domain monarch founder had left, he would have to take care of Yi Qingtang. Elder Qian taught her in detail, and Yi Qingtang studied diligently. Of the Jiang family techniques, she was best at the finger technique. She was not very familiar with palm technique, sword technique, and movement technique. So she seized the opportunity and did not dare to slack off at all. Her goal was to participate in the martial arts championship and place high enough to enter the mystic realm to look for clues about her mother. That was what Yi Qingtang really needed. For fully half a day, Elder Qian pointed out the flaws in Yi Qingtang's movement technique. Yi Qingtang learned quickly and swiftly grasped the areas she had previously overlooked. Elder Qian was pleased with her progress. He thought that with Yi Qingtang's bloodline and ability to quickly grasp onto new techniques, it was a pity that she had been lost and wasted her opportunity. Yi Qingtang only left Elder Qian when night fell. On her way back, Yi Qingtang met many youths who frowned and looked disdainful when they saw her. Is she fit to participate in the martial arts championship? I wonder if someone fiddled with the lots. The elders may say that they were fair, but she was brought here by the domain monarch founder. Elder Qian is right. Luck is part of skill. A pity that we aren't as lucky as someone to be favored by the domain monarch founder. Ah, a few youths did not hide their contempt for Yi Qingtang. They felt that if Yi Qingtang had not been lucky enough to make the ranking, they might have had a chance to be one of the top 20. Chapter 1644, Forced to Concede. 3. People were often like that. When they did not do well, they could not bear to see things go smoothly for someone else. Especially if it was someone that they felt was inferior to them, that made it even more difficult for them to accept. Yi Qingtang ignored their sarcastic remarks. She paid no more attention to them than she would to a fly buzzing in her ear. But the youths were even more enraged when Yi Qingtang ignored them. Their expressions were malicious as they blocked her way. Yi Qingtang, you're pretty hardworking. Did you just leave the practice arena? Ah. With your standards, even if you manage to crawl into the martial arts championship, you will be defeated in the first round. You better put in some last-minute work. But, isn't it too late to pretend to be diligent now? Get lost. Yi Qingtang glared coldly at the youths who were blocking her way. Oh, hot-tempered, are we? Do you really think you're better than us just because you managed to enter the martial arts championship by dumb luck? If you want my opinion, the smart thing to do is to trot over to the elders and remove yourself from the quota. Otherwise, no matter how lucky you are, anyone will smash you to smithereens once you're in the martial arts championship arena. When that happens, you better not cry in the arena and embarrass the Jiang family. A few youths spoke maliciously. They were unable to take this lying down, and their deepest desire now was to fling the most vicious words they could find at this young girl. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. However, before she could make any move, a petite figure slowly approached in the moonlight. If you dare to make trouble for my elder sister Qing, I will leave you crying here right now. A slightly amused voice reached their ears. Yi Qingtang turned towards the voice. At some point, Jiang Xiaobai had appeared on the road ahead. Her lips were smiling, and her shining eyes were crinkled in amusement. She looked straight at the youths who were blocking the way. The moment the aggressive youths saw Jiang Xiaobai, their expressions changed. They could not help but look somewhat panicked. Jiang Xiaobai walked over to Yi Qingtang slowly and smilingly took her small hand. Then, she looked up at the pitch-black sky and slowly said, "It's a dark and windy night." Then, she moved his gaze downward a little and looked at the youths. "Isn't there a saying that a dark and windy night is a good night for killing someone? I think it refers to a night like this, right?" The youths instantly felt a chill spreading through their body. All of them gulped involuntarily. Damn it, how could they have forgotten this fellow? They had often seen Jiang Shaobai and Yi Qingtang together. Jiang Shaobai had been absent for a few months, and they had completely forgotten about this killing monster. "Ah. Shaobai, we have something to do. We'd better go." A few of the youths saw that matters were not going well and decided to get away as soon as possible. Jiang Shaobai raised a single hand and blocked their way. "You bothered my elder sister Qing for so long. Where do you think you're going without an apology?" The youths turned pale. They glanced at Jiang Shaobai and Yi Qingtang. After some deliberation, they forced themselves to say to Yi Qingtang, "Sorry, we've drunk too much today and spoke amiss. Yi Qingtang, please don't take it to heart. Alcohol is bad for you. You should be more careful. It would be a pity if you drank yourself to death," Jiang Shaobai said with a smile. Chapter 1645, Forced to Concede. 4. To the youths, seeing Jiang Shaobai's brilliant smile was like catching sight of an evil ghost. They shivered all over and quickly lowered their heads and slunk away. Yi Qingtang looked at Jiang Shaobai, who had stood up for her, and a trace of a smile surfaced in her eyes. For a moment it was as if she was looking at the former Xianling sect, the former Falling Sky Valley, and her senior brothers who squabbled violently but always cared for each other. The once familiar faces had now vanished. The countless living things and those kindly faces had all been destroyed by the ancient Yu clan. Yi Qingtang's eyes dimmed. Her desire to get everything back from the ancient Yu clan grew even stronger. "Father, master. Wait a while. I will certainly save you." Her road ahead was a lonely one. Yi Qingtang had long been used to facing everything alone, mockery, abuse, contempt. She paid no heed to any of these. On a road strewn with obstacles, her sole goal was to rescue the ones she once knew. Now, Yi Qingtang could not help but be warmed by Jiang Shaobai's protectiveness. "Elder sister Qing, are you still angry? If you're still angry, they'll catch them and beat them up for you," Jiang Shaobai said with a smile. Her bright eyes shone in the moonlight. Yi Qingtang subconsciously reached out and patted Jiang Shaobai's fluffy head. For a moment, Jiang Shaobai's smile froze, and a faint blush surfaced on her face. She lowered her head in some embarrassment. Gone was her previous impish look. "Thank you." Yi Qingtang and Jiang Shaobai walked away in the moonlight without noticing two figures hiding in the darkness. What does Jiang Shaobai see in that girl? She's guarded her so closely ever since she entered the valley. Sitting in the fork of a tree, Jiang Yiran was chewing on a stalk of grass as he looked at the two disappearing figures in bewilderment. Jiang Yenyun was standing under the tree, his hands behind his back. However, his eyes were fixed on Jiang Shaobai's figure. "Elder brother Yun, what do you think that Jiang Shaobai has been doing outside with the elder? Do you think it's about some special cultivation technique?" Jiang Yiran lowered his head to talk to Jiang Yenyun, who was standing under the tree. Jiang Yanyun's expression was remote as he glanced at Jiang Yiran. "If you don't have anything better to do, why not go back and cultivate?" Jiang Yiran's face turned pale as he was scolded, but he was used to it. "Elder brother Yun, I came in 5th this time." "That's pretty good," Jiang Yenyun grunted coldly. Jiang Yiran subconsciously drew back and said, "I'm just concerned for you." Jiang Yiran spoke guiltily. The truth was that he had been looking for an opportunity to torment Yi Qingtang to relieve some of his resentment, but he had unexpectedly run into Jiang Yenyun. Fortunately, Jiang Yanyun's presence had prevented him from making trouble for Yi Qingtang. Otherwise, if Jiang Shaobai had seen him, Jiang Yiran sensed a chill prickling up his neck. I just don't understand what that fellow, Jiang Xiaobai, is up to. But anyway, Yi Qingtang will be utterly crushed in the martial arts championship. Then, Jiang Xiaobai will also be embarrassed. Unlike you, elder brother Yun, not everyone is surrounded by people as capable as I am. Jiang Yenyun turned to leave even before Jiang Yiran could finish speaking. Jiang Yiran was left alone in the tree to feed the mosquitoes. Hey, elder brother Yun, wait for me. I'm not too familiar with the technique that the elder taught us just now. Can you help me with it over the next few days? Elder brother Yun. Jiang Yiran shouted as he hurried after Jiang Yenyun. Chapter 1646, Island of Immortal Footsteps. 1. The days flew by, and very soon, the 20 youths chosen from Taiyuan Valley were about to depart for the Island of Immortal Footsteps to take part in the martial arts championship. Since morning, everyone was ready to set off, and the floating ship in the sky was ready to be boarded. Under the elders' directions, the 20 youths boarded the ship successively and began their journey to the Island of Immortal Footsteps. Various clans had set sail as well. The Island of Immortal Footsteps floated above the dangerous waters and was inaccessible using any sea routes. Only by taking the floating boat would people be able to cross the seas and arrive at the place. As the martial arts championship drew near, the sky above the Island of Immortal Footsteps was docked with the floating ships of various clans. The owner of the Island of Immortal Footsteps was a mystery, and barely anyone was aware of his identity to date. When the Jiang family's floating ship arrived at the Island of Immortal Footsteps, the youths on the ship could not hold themselves back from looking at the island that was surrounded by many clouds. It was their first time to step into this battleground of the ancient clans. Once the floating ship docked, everyone alighted successively. Yi Qingtang gazed at the Island of Immortal Footsteps before her. In both lifetimes, this was the first time she came here. Jiang Xiaobai was beside Yi Qingtang, but she seemed to be uninterested in everything here. After stretching her body, she clung onto Yi Qingtang as she poked the little white tiger's bottom every now and then. Fuck you. Shameless. Various clans had already arrived at the Island of Immortal Footsteps, and these top-tier clans of the central mainland led the most outstanding youths of their clans to assemble. Elder Qian and the other Jiang family elders were getting in touch with islanders when an enormous and elegant floating ship docked in the skies, and a group of youths in gorgeous outfits flew down from the floating ship. It's the Chiu clan. Elder Kun mumbled to Elder Qian when he saw the outfit of those people. Elder Qian nodded slightly, but before he could reply, the elders of the Chiu clan walked over. Elder Qian, it's been a while. The Chiu clan elder smiled as his elegant robe glistened in the sunlight and blinded everyone. Elder Qian gave a light nod politely. Yi Qingtang's attention landed on the people of the Chiu clan. The Chiu clan was one of the finest ancient clans in the central mainland. However, there seemed to be some enmity between the Chiu clan and the Jiang family. Back then, there were various top clans and numerous supreme figures in the central mainland, and every clan went all out to attain the title of the domain monarch. Back then, the Chiu clan was one of the strongest opponents of the Jiang family in contesting for the domain monarch position. However, the domain monarch founder was extremely skilled, and he defeated all the top cultivators of the Chiu clan to secure the position as the domain monarch. Over these few years, the Chiu clan invested all their efforts in nurturing talented youths and had been showing signs of making a comeback. As Yi Qingtang's eyes scanned across the youths of the Chiu clan, she noticed a beautiful girl who looked down shyly and followed behind an elder. Her behavior resembled that of a budding, frail flower that appeared pitiful in all angles, completely unlike someone who was here to participate in the martial arts championship. Elder Qian, I heard that the Jiang family gained a little extraordinary talent a few years ago. I have not congratulated you on that yet, Elder Chiu said with a smile. Although it seemed like a compliment, there was no trace of sincerity in his eyes. You're too kind. Elder Qian replied in a collected manner. Chapter 1647, Island of Immortal Footsteps, 1, Elder Qian, you're too kind. The extraordinary talents from all clans will be participating in the martial arts championship this year. I'm looking forward to a spar between the younger generation of our Qiu clan and Jiang Yenyun, as well as that little extraordinary talent of your Jiang family. However, I hope that they can last until they face the Qius. It would be very regrettable if they lose from the start and have to withdraw from the competition, Elder Qian said meaningfully. Elder Qian's expression immediately darkened. The younger generation of the Jiang family had not attained any good results in the martial arts championship in recent years. In contrast, the Qiu clan produced quite a number of impressive talents who attained pretty good results. The Qiu clan's youths improved at a shocking rate and had embarrassed many of Jiang family's youths in the past few years of the martial arts championship. This led the Qiu family elders to become increasingly arrogant. Elder Qiu, the Jiang family is the domain monarch's clan. There's no need for you to worry about not having a chance to spar with them. A voice suddenly rang as an elderly in green walked over, beaming, with a group of youths behind him. Elder Bailey. Elder Qiu immediately laughed after seeing who it was. The incomer was an elder of the Bailey clan. In the previous martial arts championship, the Qiu clan and Bailey clan had an exciting match. I wonder who will win the title this year. I'm really looking forward to the competition between our two clans, Elder Qiu said with a smile. Ha! Of course, the Bailey clan elder agreed with a smile. As the two echoed after each other, the expression of Elder Qian and the rest grew ugly. For both the Qiu clan and Bailey clan, the youths that they sent to participate in the martial arts championship were very outstanding. While the Jiang family's domain monarch title must not be challenged, the youths of both clans were evidently impressive and had caused the Jiang family to suffer a few times. Each top clan had its own edge in the martial arts championship, but the Jiang family did not perform too well in the past few years. The Jiang family regarded this year's martial arts championship very highly as well. If there were no sufficiently powerful youths to support the Jiang family for a long time, it would be hard to secure the domain monarch position as well. After all, each new generation replaced the previous one. That is Bailey Shi. Jiang Yiran spotted a tall and slender figure in the group of youths of the Bailey clan. He was a gorgeous male, his look stood out from the crowd, and his calm expression complemented his tall figure, yet there was something distant about him. Who is Bailey Shi? A youth from the Jiang family asked curiously. Jiang Yiran said, You don't know him? He was the champion in the martial arts championship last year. I didn't expect him to come again this year. When he participated in the martial arts championship last time, he was the youngest contestant, but even so, he defeated all the opponents and claimed the champion title. I thought he would not come this year. Jiang Yiran could not help but look toward Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai. These were the two most powerful youths in the Jiang family, but should they meet Bailey Shi, a rare and exceptional talent, what were their chances of winning? Qiu Chen came as well. Jiang Yiran looked toward the Qiu clan side and instinctively frowned once he spotted the arrogant and frivolous youth. Qiu Chen. The top talent of the Qiu clan. A Jiang family youth was slightly taken aback. Chapter 1648, Island of Immortal Footsteps, 3, With a glance, the Jiang family youths noticed many other extraordinary talents in the other ancient clans. They were about the same age as them, but many of them had already established a name for themselves. Iran, you don't seem to be very fond of Qiu Chen. Someone sensed the change in Jiang Yiran's expression after seeing Qiu Chen. Jiang Yiran tugged his lips and replied. No. I like him to death. Qiu Chen seemed to have sensed Jiang Yiran's gaze as well, and he smirked nonchalantly when he looked over. Jiang Yiran almost flared up. This fellow seriously deserves a beating. If I could defeat him, I would have beaten him to a pulp, Jiang Yiran said with gritted teeth. He met Qiu Chen once and was completely thrashed by Qiu Chen. As Jiang Yiran had always been a prideful person, he was extremely infuriated upon meeting his enemy now. Jiang Yenyun cast a glance at the furious Jiang Yiran and subsequently looked away. The Qiu clan and Bailey clan echoed after each other, and although their words seemed very courteous on the surface, they were filled with mockery. Elder Qian and the rest were very displeased, but it was not the right place to act up. On the other hand, the talented youths of the Jiang family were shooting lasers with their eyes at the other two ancient clans as they were young and had never experienced such ridicule before. That Qiu clan elder is so annoying. He has the audacity to bark here, but if he meets the domain monarch, I think he can't even laugh then. Jiang Yisheng was extremely irritated with the other two ancient clans. Although there were many talented people in the younger generation of the Jiang family, there were only a rare few who were outstanding, and the numerous defeats that the Jiang family suffered only served to fuel the arrogance of the other top ancient clans. Yi Qingtang maintained an indifferent expression as she watched the situation before her. She was very clear that unless the Jiang family had enough numbers of powerful talents to suppress the other clans in the martial arts championship, the other ancient clans would just become increasingly arrogant. It's late already, and they still need to rest. Elder Qian, we will not disturb you anymore. Please take care of us if we meet in the martial arts championship in the next few days. Elder Qiu laughed heartily and chatted with the Bailey clan elder for a while before leaving. Elder Qian only managed to suppress his fury after exerting tremendous willpower. Then, he immediately led the youths of the Jiang family deeper into the island of immortal footsteps for the island servants to arrange their lodging. There were still a few days before the martial arts championship began, and a few ancient clans still had not arrived. Not long after they were allowed to rest, Jiang Xiaobai immediately looked for Yi Qingtang to explore the island. Two other familiar-looking youths came along. Just like that, a group of 4 strolled around the island. I heard that the owner of this island of immortal footsteps is extremely mysterious. Apart from the martial arts championship where it is open to the public for a period of time, this place cannot be found in the rest of the year even if one knows where this island is located. I heard from those who came here before that there were many mysterious cave abodes on this island. I wonder what exactly is inside though. The owner does not seem to encourage us to walk around the island either. Why don't we look for treasures during this period of time instead? The two youths began mumbling about the rumors surrounding this island. Only the top 10 contestants of the martial arts championship could enter the mystic realm, and these 10 people would definitely be the top talents of various ancient clans. Chapter 1649, See You in the Arena, 1. They were among the bottom of the top 20 from the Jiang family and were basically there to gain some experience, spar with their peers, and join in the fun. Don't make silly suggestions. I've heard there are few restrictions on the island. If you accidentally enter some forbidden ground, you'll have no hope of leaving it alive. Many fools like you are lost on the island during each martial arts championship. As they walked, they saw a group of people up ahead who seemed to be gathered around something. They walked closer only to see a dozen youths from the Qiu family. They were gathered together and seemed to be cursing at something. In the middle of the group stood the figures of some Jiang family members. Is that Jiang Yisheng? How did he encounter these Qiu family members? The low-ranking youth standing next to Yi Qingtang asked curiously when he saw what was going on. They had been planning to ask Jiang Yisheng to join them but could not find him. They had not expected to run into him here. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. Jiang Xiaobai, who was standing next to her, lost her amused expression. Is this all the Jiang family is capable of? Doesn't seem like much. In our Qiu family, you wouldn't even be able to crawl into the island of immortal footsteps with your lousy skills. What's the matter? Did I say something wrong? Aren't we allowed to point out your Jiang family's incompetence? A youth from the Qiu family said sarcastically. Jiang Yixing and the other Jiang family youths who were surrounded looked furious. Jiang Yixing had been planning to look for Jiang Shaobai and Yi Qingtang, but along the way, he saw that a few Jiang family youths, whom he knew, were quarreling with some members of the Qiu family. He had approached to see what was going on. However, he had not expected these Qiu family youths to be so rude. They had heaped scorn on Jiang Yixing's head, so he had started to fight them. The two sides were evenly matched in terms of numbers, and their skills were on par, but a big group of Qiu family members had unexpectedly arrived soon after the fight started. This had forced Jiang Yixing and the rest into an embarrassing situation. After a while, Jiang Yixing and the others were all wounded. They were outnumbered, and the situation did not look good. I think all of you are begging for a beating. You can't even wait for the martial arts championship to officially begin before looking for a beating. Don't embarrass yourselves at the martial arts championship with your poor skills. Get lost and crawl back to your Jiang family before you completely ruin the last of your domain monarch's reputation, the youths from the Qiu family said, roaring with laughter. What are you saying? I'll fight you to the death. Jiang Yixing was infuriated. He swung his fist at that person's face. A few Qiu family members held Jiang Yixing down and punched him viciously in the stomach. Jiang Yixing turned pale from the beating. You have such lousy skills, yet you still dare to display them in front of me? Looks like you don't want your arms anymore. Break his arms. I would like to see how he participates in the martial arts championship with broken arms. A cold light flashed across the Qiu family youth's eyes. Many of the youths from the various ancient clans could not stand each other, and they often brawled during each martial arts championship. But it was not a big deal even if they lost. It just showed that their skills were inferior. But now these Qiu family youths were about to deal brutally with Jiang Yixing and the other Jiang family youths. Chapter 1650, See You in the Arena, 2. A figure suddenly appeared before Jiang Yixing and the Qiu family youths. The next moment, the two youths holding down Jiang Yixing were sent flying with a kick. Jiang Yixing was shocked. Only then did he realize that it was Jiang Shaobai who had appeared. Shaobai. Jiang Shaobai was smiling brilliantly as usual, but there was no amusement in her eyes. She narrowed her eyes and swept a glance over the Qiu family members that were present. Her eyes were frosty. Another one looking to die. Get her. The Qiu family youths did not care who she was. They would rely on their superior numbers to teach them a lesson. One of the youths tried to take the opportunity to ambush Jiang Shaobai from behind, but before he could get close, Yi Qingtang suddenly appeared and threw him over her shoulder. He was sent flying. Qingtang, Jiang Yixing could not help but feel emotional when Jiang Shaobai and Yi Qingtang suddenly appeared. Elder brother Yi, we're here to help you. Well, kill them. The two youths who were with Yi Qingtang and Jiang Shaobai rolled up their sleeves and rushed in. They were all hot-blooded youths. They could not restrain their anger when they saw their family members being beaten up. The appearance of Yi Qingtang and her companions rescued Jiang Yixing and the others from their dangerous situation. The two sides were ready to give tit for tat, and a bloody battle was imminent. What are you doing? A low shout suddenly entered their ears. When the group of Qiu family youths heard the voice, they froze and turned towards the sound. A displeased-looking Qiu Chen was slowly walking towards them together with a refined and gentle-looking youth. Qiu Chen, we tried to make allowances, but they would have none of it. Qiu Chen frowned and slapped the talkative youth. The youth's face turned bright red from the blow, but he just covered his face and did not dare to make a sound. He lowered his head guiltily. Elder asked you to quickly rectify the situation, not waste your time with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. If you're not serious about joining the martial arts championship, you better get lost. Don't stay here and embarrass the Qiu family. Qiu Chen berated them coldly. The group of Chiu family youths all shook in their shoes. No one dared to show any signs of their temper. The gentle-looking youth next to Chiu Chen smiled. His gaze swept across the Chiu family members, Yi Qingtang, and the others. When he saw the injuries that Jiang Yisheng and the others had sustained, he immediately understood what had happened. He stepped forward and spoke with a smile. "I'm sorry. They just got to the island and are rather worked up. They could not control their strength and injured our friends from the Jiang family." As he spoke, he glanced at the Chiu family youths and said, "Your priorities are all wrong. If you injure them before the martial arts championship, the Jiang family will have fewer participants. How will they safeguard their domain monarch's reputation then?" The gentle-looking youth seemed to be rebuking his companions, but he implied that the Jiang family was no match for them. His attitude was condescending and dismissive. "Xiu Heung, what are you saying? If your Chiu family had not relied on superior numbers, you might be the one lying on the ground now." Jiang Yisheng was instantly furious. The youth named Xiu Heung simply smiled and did not reply. When Chiu Chen heard Jiang Yisheng's words, he smiled arrogantly. "There's safety in numbers. But I'll give you a chance. If you can beat me, I'll admit that our Chiu family relied on superior numbers to bully you." Chapter 1651, See You in the Arena, 3U. Jiang Yisheng was quivering with rage, but another Jiang family youth held him back. In the Chiu family, Chiu Chen was the most powerful member of his generation. Jiang Yisheng was certainly no match for him. "What's the matter? Are you afraid?" Chiu Chen laughed softly. "If you can't beat us, you should just admit it. There's no need for all this bluff and bluster. Your Jiang family has not beaten the Chiu family in the martial arts championship for many years." Jiang Yisheng wished he could go and punch Chiu Chen in the mouth. Jiang Xiaobai suddenly stepped forward and stood smilingly in front of Chiu Chen. "If you want to fight, I can play with you." "Xiaobai." Jiang Yisheng was startled. Chiu Chen could not help but frown when he saw Jiang Xiaobai. He was about to say something when he suddenly heard a mocking laugh. "Hey, what is the Chiu family up to? Are they planning to spar with the Jiang family before the martial arts championship?" "Sure. I happen to be free right now. Let's play together." At some point, Jiang Yiran had appeared in the vicinity. With him were Jiang Yenyun and a dozen other Jiang family youths. Chiu Chen narrowed his eyes. The spirit energy around him began to ripple. Next to him, Chiu Haiyang's expression also flickered. He secretly caught hold of Chiu Chen's wrist and shook his head. "Jiang Xiaobai and Jiang Yenyun are both here. The Jiang family greatly outnumbers us. If we really fight, neither side will be at an advantage. If the elder finds out," Chiu Heung said softly. "Do you think I'm afraid of them? So what if Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai are here?" Chiu Chen said coldly. Chiu Heung whispered in Chiu Chen's ear. Chiu Chen's gaze swept over the crowd, and he spotted a shy figure on a nearby beach. This was the young girl who had hid behind the Chiu family elder. At that moment, the girl was walking towards them. She had a nervous expression and did not dare to look at the Jiang family. She only lowered her head and sneaked a glance at Chiu Chen and the others. Elder said, "We are not to get into fights." A sharp look flashed across Chiu Chen's eyes, but he suppressed his rage and raised his head to look at Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai. "I'm not interested in sparring with you. If you aren't reconciled to your defeat, you can beat me in the martial arts championship arena. As long as someone in the Jiang family can beat me, I will publicly admit that I was at fault. If you can't, then if we ever encounter each other on the island of immortal footsteps, you must keep far away from me. Don't worry. Elder brother Yun certainly won't kill you in the arena. He'll leave you with at least one last breath," Jiang Yiran said with a cold laugh. Chiu Chen grunted coldly. Then, he led the rest of the Chiu family group and turned to leave. The shy girl from the Chiu family silently bowed her head and followed them. As she was leaving, she cast a quick glance at the little white tiger, who was in Yi Qingtang's arms. How infuriating! Those bastards from the Chiu family are asking for it. Jiang Yixing glared at the departing figures of the Chiu family. He gritted his teeth in rage. Forget it. Look, your face is all swollen from your beating. If you could really beat them, would you have been beaten up so badly? Jiang Yiran glanced at the bruises on Jiang Yixing's face and spoke bluntly. They relied on their superior numbers to bully us. If it was a one-on-one fight, I would not be afraid of them. Humph. You go challenge Qiu Chen or Qiu Heang and see what happens then. Jiang Yiran crossed his arms. You. Shut up. Jiang Yanyan looked frosty. Are you done? If you are, you better go back and cultivate. Chapter 1652, See You in the Arena, for, Jiang Yiran raised his brows smugly. Jiang Yixing was so angry his knuckles cracked as he clenched his fists. Jiang Yanyan swept a look at Jiang Yiran's smug expression and said frostily, You were the one who wanted to save them. Now, you're the one making trouble. Jiang Yiran had been the first to notice that Yi Qingtang and the others were fighting with the Chiu family. He had rolled up his sleeves and rushed over. I can't bear the sight of that Qiu Chen, Jiang Yiran said guiltily. No matter what differences they and Jiang Shaobai's clique had in Taiyuan Valley, once outside the valley, they were one united body. They represented the entire Jiang family. Of course, he could not restrain himself when he saw his own family members being bullied. I haven't had an opportunity to punch that girl. With her poor skills, I think she'll be punched half dead if it came to a real fight. Then, I won't be able to punch her anymore. Jiang Yiran immediately pointed at Yi Qingtang and found an excuse for himself. Yi Qingtang, who had been targeted out of the blue, stared at him blankly. How petty was he that he was still thinking of punching her? Jiang Yanyan glared at Jiang Yiran. He ignored Jiang Yiran's excuse and looked straight at Jiang Shaobai. What do you think of the Chiu family? Jiang Shaobai's eyes had lost their chilly look. She lazily hooked her arms around Yi Qingtang's shoulders and was practically hanging onto the ladder. They're too ugly. I couldn't bear to look at them. Jiang Yanyan drew a breath and said, Pay close attention to that young girl during the martial arts championship. Jiang Yanyan spoke meaningfully. A strange look flashed across Jiang Shaobai's eyes, but she did not say anything. Jiang Yiran and Jiang Yixing squabbled a bit more before they went their separate ways. Fortunately, Jiang Yixing and the others had only received superficial wounds. They would recover with some medication. The group had been planning to explore the island of immortal footsteps, but now they had no choice but to return to their residence and get some medicine for Jiang Yixing and the others. On the way back, they met Bailey Shi, of the Bailey family, and a young girl. Unlike the arrogant Qiu Chen from the Chiu family, Bailey Shi did not notice that they were passing by. He merely patiently bowed his head and looked tenderly at the frail young girl next to him. He treated her with great care. The handsome king of hell, Bailey Shi, has a tender side. I must be seeing things. Jiang Yixing turned to see the two figures, who were slowly moving away. Handsome King of Hell was the nickname that Bailey Shi had earned at the previous martial arts championship. He had been the youngest participant that year but had viciously suppressed all his opponents with his thunderbolt-like moves. Bailey Shi might look handsome and remote, but he was brutal in the arena like a devil who had crawled out of hell. He had even killed several of his opponents in the arena. Xiaobai, how confident are you of winning a match against Bailey Shi? Jiang Yixing asked curiously. He naturally overlooked Yi Qingtang and the others. Jiang Shaobai leaned on Yi Qingtang. She looked at Jiang Yixing's bruised but inquisitive face and simply pinched his cheek. Jiang Yixing howled in pain. I should have let the Qiu family kill you just now. SSS, the pain is killing me. Jiang Yixing rubbed his face with an injured air. He did not know what went wrong. Yi Qingtang, who was standing next to her, secretly sighed. She glanced at Bai Li Shi. In her previous life, Yi Qingtang had heard some rumors about Bai Li Shi. Bai Li Shi was ranked among the top 10 of Central Mainland's talents. And the girl next to Bai Li Shi was his twin sister. Chapter 1653, See You in the Arena, 5, She looked around. The martial arts championship had not yet begun, but many of the highly talented younger generation from the ancient clans had arrived. Be it Qiu Chen or Bai Li Shi, they were all exceptionally rare talents. But what bothered Yi Qingtang the most about this martial arts championship was the absence of the ancient Yu clan. The ancient Yu clan should also be participating in the martial arts championship, but this time, they seemed to have no intention of coming. Once the ancient Yu clan began controlling Little Yu Yun, they had become more and more ambitious. Yi Qingtang's current goal was to enter the mystic realm to look for clues about her mother. At the same time, she wanted to gain even more power from the mystic realm. But after encountering the experts of the younger generation from the various ancient clans, Yi Qingtang did not dare to slack off in her cultivation. Yi Qingtang finally calmed herself down after returning to her room. She sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. She was at the peak of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. She had remained there for some time, but still showed no sign of breaking through to the next level. She could clearly sense that she was just a step away from the fourth heaven, but could not understand why it was much more difficult to pass this stage than it had been to level up previously. For a few days, Yi Qingtang remained in her room and concentrated on cultivating. Even if Jiang Yixing and the others asked her to go out, she tactfully refused. If she was unable to enter the top 10 of the martial arts championship, her 6 months of hard work would be wasted. Over the past few days, there was much friction among the younger members of the ancient clans. They were all hot-blooded youths. They already could not stand each other, and now that they kept encountering each other on the island, they would fly into a rage and end up in a fight. However, Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Shaobai seemed to have come to a consensus on this matter. Both of them warned the other youths not to fight before the martial arts championship officially began. This kept the Jiang family youths out of trouble. The days passed swiftly. Soon, it was time for the official opening of the martial arts championship. The various ancient clans gathered together, bringing with them their most outstanding youths to compete in the arena. The noise was deafening as the youths rubbed their hands and cracked their knuckles, preparing for a fight. The martial arts championship was arranged by drawing lots. One needed both skill and luck. If someone met the most powerful opponent in the first round, they would have no hope of reaching the top 10, even if they were the second most powerful participant. Jiang Yixing grabbed hold of Yi Qingtang while the lots were being drawn, hoping that some of her luck would rub off on him. Yi Qingtang did not know whether to laugh or to cry. The huge martial arts arena was crowded with people. The youths who were drawing lots waited quietly on one side for their opponent to appear. At that moment, the elders of the various ancient clans were all waiting solemnly. Elder Qian and the other Jiang family elders were focused on Jiang Shaobai and Jiang Yenyun. They were the Jiang family's best hope of winning this championship. Their performance would determine whether the Jiang family could hold its head up high during this martial arts championship. Elder Qian and the others felt that Yi Qingtang had entered the martial arts championship by luck, so they paid no attention to her. The other Jiang family youths also showed no interest in her. Only Jiang Yixing, Jiang Shaobai, and a few others who were close to Yi Qingtang showed some concern for her. However, Jiang Yixing and the others felt that no matter which lot Yi Qingtang drew, the outcome would not be positive. After all, she had only returned to the Jiang family as a teenager and had only been in Taiyuan Valley for half a year. How could she possibly achieve several victories in this championship when so many were vying for the top? Chapter 1654, Drawing Lots. 1. The top 20 participants of the other families had fought their way to the top. But to Jiang Yixing and the others, Yi Qingtang had entered purely based on luck. No matter who she faced from the other ancient clans, it would be a foregone conclusion. Qingtang, look up there. Jiang Yixing clutched her tightly. Even if Yi Qingtang was only here for a while, she should also gain some experience. He kindly pointed to the seats above the arena. Several youths and girls were seated in those elevated positions. The first was Bailey Shi, whom they had encountered earlier. Do you see those 10 places? They belong to the 10 who won the last championship. They have privileges and will automatically be one of the top 10 finalists in this martial arts championship. To be frank, our matches are only qualifying rounds. The hundreds of us need to compete to identify the top 10, who will then be qualified to challenge those 10 people. We have to beat them in order to be one of the top 10 in this martial arts championship, and enter the mystic realm. Jiang Yixing patiently explained the martial arts championship rules to Yi Qingtang. The time for each martial arts championship was not fixed. Sometimes, the interval between championships was a few years, sometimes it spanned a dozen years. It was said that the longest interval between 2 championships was a few decades. It was not just the various ancient clans who decided when a martial arts championship would take place. It also depended on the Island of Immortal Footsteps, and when the mystic realm would open. The martial arts championship would only begin when the mystic realm was about to open. And only the younger generation of the various clans could participate in the martial arts championship. Once they were over 25 years of age, they were no longer allowed to participate. This was simply because the mystic realm only permitted youths below the age of 25 to enter. Once they passed that age, the mystic realm would expel them without care. No one could explain this strange phenomenon. The last martial arts championship had been held 5 years ago. Many of the top 10 contestants from the last championship had not yet reached the age of 25. Hence, they continued to attend this championship and enjoyed certain privileges. Of the top 10 participants from the last championship, only 2 had exceeded the age of 25 and were unable to compete again. Another 2 from the ancient Yu clan were absent. Even so, that left 6 people. These 6 people were the top talents from the last championship. The first is Bailey Shi, while the second has passed the age limit and is absent this year. The third is that girl. Can you see her? Her name is Mu Feiruo. To me, she is like a goddess. Jiang Yixing gazed tenderly at a frosty-looking girl sitting in the 3rd place. Wipe your drool. You're disgusting. Jiang Yiran, who was passing by, heard Jiang Yixing infatuated comments and could not help but feel nauseated. Jiang Yiran subconsciously raised his hand to wipe his mouth, only to find it clean. He glared at Jiang Yiran. Are you worthy to think of Mu Feiruo? With your lousy skills, Mu Feiruo only needs 3 moves to ensure you can't even walk off the dais. I think you should stop wasting your time. Jiang Yiran shrugged nonchalantly. His gaze passed over the powerful figures from the last championship, and he pointed to the youth sitting at the last place. If you want to have intimate contact with Mu Feiruo, you must first beat Bailey Xianyun. He's the second most powerful figure in the Bailey family. Want me to help you ask him whether you can have a private match first? Chapter 1655, Drawing Lots. 2. Do you think I'm not aware of that? As long as I'm one of the top 10 in this championship, I can challenge anyone from the last championship. Who says I have to fight Bailey Xianyun first? Jiang Yixing grumbled. Oh, but first you must have the ability to crawl into the top 10, Jiang Yiran said coldly. Jiang Yiran's words pierced Jiang Yixing's heart. But he could not help but shrink back when he looked at Bailey Xianyun. Bailey Xianyun had come in 10th in the last championship. His moves were unusually brutal and he was an opponent who did not fail to send a chill up one's spine. Noting the terrified expression on Jiang Yixing's face, Jiang Yiran chuckled darkly. Then his gaze fell on the lot in Yi Qingtang's hand. Oh, what a pity. Jiang Yiran compared the motifs on their lots. When he discovered they were different, he shook his head with some regret. What are you so petty? Yi Qingtang was speechless. After Jiang Shaobai had drawn her lot, she draped herself over Yi Qingtang like a sleepy cat. When she saw Jiang Yiran's expression of regret, she lazily glanced at the lot in Jiang Yiran's hand and suddenly said, "Oh, I'm fighting you." Jiang Yiran had been looking smug, but his expression darkened the moment he heard Jiang Shaobai's words. Damn it, surely not. Could he be so unlucky? Was he fighting Jiang Shaobai in the first round? Though Jiang Yiran had been full of confidence, he was instantly terrified by Jiang Shaobai's words. He grabbed his lot and ran over to Jiang Yenyun for some last-minute advice. Jiang Yixing laughed gleefully when he saw Jiang Yiran's pathetic figure. Shaobai, you must teach that fellow a lesson later. Beat him until he can't find his teeth, Jiang Yixing said with a chuckle. In response, Jiang Shaobai merely glanced at him, then waved her lot in front of Jiang Yixing. Her lot's motif was clearly different from that of Jiang Yiran's lot. Jiang Yixing, he had been rejoicing for nothing. Yi Qingtang could not help but laugh at Jiang Shaobai's vicious and petty move. She suddenly looked forward to seeing Jiang Yiran's reaction when he entered the arena only to find that his opponent was not Jiang Shaobai. More and more people drew their lots, and soon all the contestants had drawn their lots and the matches were finalized. They began searching for their opponents. Yi Qingtang's opponent was a youth from the ancient Lin Lan clan and there was no reaction when she saw his opponent. But Jiang Yixing and the others looked mournful. Qingtang, you know that winning or losing is not important. The important thing is that we participated, Jiang Yixing said earnestly as he patted Yi Qingtang's shoulder. That youth from the ancient Lin Lan clan was one of the lower-ranking youths in his clan, but he was truly skillful. How could someone like Yi Qingtang beat him? Jiang Yixing and the others felt that Yi Qingtang would probably be defeated in the first round. They were worried that she would be affected, so they kindly tried to encourage her. Elder Qian and the others recorded the opponents that their family's youths would be facing. Jiang Shaobai and Jiang Yanyun's opponents were not the best, so they were not too worried. When Elder Qian saw Yi Qingtang's opponent, he sighed inwardly. No one felt very hopeful about the outcome of this match. I only hope Yi Qingtang won't lose too badly, or the Qiu family will take the opportunity to mock us, Elder Kun said with a frown. It was hard for him not to worry about Yi Qingtang. He knew it was highly unlikely that Yi Qingtang would win at all in this championship, but if she lost too badly, it would embarrass the Jiang family. Chapter 1656, Drawing Lots, 3. Although they were worried, they knew perfectly well that with Yi Qingtang's talent and skills, it would be next to impossible for her to win a round in the martial arts championship. Jiang Yixing and the others encouraged Yi Qingtang, then began preparing for their own matches. Because there were more people participating in the competition this time, they had to compete in batches. Yi Qingtang was in the first round of the last batch. She could still observe other matches in the arena before her own match. Jiang Yiran was in the first batch that entered the arena. Because Jiang Shaobai had misled him, Jiang Yiran entered the arena with a heavy heart. But when he saw that his opponent was not Jiang Shaobai, his tense expression immediately relaxed. Within moments, Jiang Yiran realized that Jiang Shaobai had tricked him and a mottled fury appeared on his face. He immediately vented his anger on his opponent. Their skills were somewhat disparate, and with Jiang Yiran giving it his all, the youth was soon circling the arena blindly and he lost shortly thereafter. The other youths from the Jiang family entered the arena one after another. Yi Qingtang had intended to look for Jiang Xiaobai to watch her match, but the crowd was surging around her and she did not manage to find Jiang Xiaobai. Instead, she watched Jiang Yanyan enter the arena. As the Jiang family's most talented and powerful youth, Jiang Yanyan's skills were not to be underestimated. The youth opposing him seemed unable to make a single move before Jiang Yanyan's series of actions sent him flying from the arena. Elder Qian and the others smiled contentedly at Jiang Yanyan's performance. But before Elder Qian and the others could finish basking, another thunderous roar sounded from the arena. They looked at the arena and saw that a bolt of lightning had sent a youth flying. Qiu Chen stood in the huge arena, surrounded by blue lightning. He was sneering as he observed the crowd with arrogance written all over his face. That fellow from the Qiu family is quite formidable, Elder Qian and the others frowned deeply. Qiu Chen and Qiu Heong have always been exceptionally talented. In addition, the Qiu family has spent a lot of effort in training them. I wonder how many trump cards they still have in their hand. Elder Kun also looked worried. The Qiu family and the Jiang family had never gotten along well. This time, the Qiu family was clearly out to suppress the Jiang family. The Qiu family had come in second in the last martial arts championship. If that person had not passed the 25-year mark, he would have been sitting among the top 10. Xiaobai, Elder Kun asked meaningfully. Elder Qian nodded and they did not say any more. At that moment, the elder from the Qiu family walked over slowly, to the congratulations of the other ancient clans. He looked at the Jiang family elders. Elder Qian, what do you think of our Qiu Chen's thundercloud fists? Elder Qian walked over. Although he was smiling, his expression was provocative. Elder Qian frowned slightly, but maintained his composure. The Qiu family's thundercloud fists have always been formidable. Elder Qiu must have spent a lot of time and effort training him. I didn't spend much effort. Qiu Chen only practiced the thundercloud fists for half a year. It was just for him to train his arm strength, but his powers of comprehension were so great that he managed to reach the fifth heaven without much effort, Elder Qiu said with a laugh. He had reached the fifth heaven after training for half a year. What a boast! In his heart, Elder Qian smiled frostily but kept his expression neutral. If Elder Qiu was not exaggerating, then Qiu Chen must be extraordinarily talented. Chapter 1657, A Little Nervous. 1. Elder Qian and the others all knew that the Qiu family wanted to flaunt their strength, but the martial arts championship had only just begun, so victory was still uncertain. Oh look, someone from your Jiang family is entering the arena. Elder Qiu did not care that Elder Qian and the others were ignoring him. His eyes were fixed on the arena. A slender figure clothed in the Jiang family attire was slowly stepping onto the arena. Elder Qian and the others had intended to ignore Elder Qiu, but when they heard Elder Qiu suddenly say this, they subconsciously looked at the dais. Their hearts fell. At that moment, the person standing in the arena was Yi Qingtang, whom they couldn't help but be worried about. In the last few rounds, Elder Qian and the others had been too busy to bother about Yi Qingtang. Now Yi Qingtang was in the arena and the Qiu family elder happened to be standing next to them. The dismay on Elder Qian and the others' faces was almost palpable. Although they were already mentally prepared for Yi Qingtang to lose terribly, Elder Qiu was now keeping a close eye on them. They could not help but wince. If they lost very badly, Elder Qiu would taunt and mock the Jiang family with no mercy. Elder Qian and the others were mentally prepared to refute Elder Qiu's taunts, but the Jiang family youths had not performed well in the last few championships, while the Qiu family had done exceptionally well. So their retorts were rather half-hearted. At that moment, Elder Kun wished he could hint to Yi Qingtang to find an excuse not to compete. If she suffered a terrible defeat, their Jiang family's reputation would be in tatters. I already told you not to let her come. Now look, That jerk from the Chiu family is all prepared to mock us, Elder Kun murmured with a slight frown. Elder Qian was not looking too good either. Initially, Elder Kun and the others had suggested that Yi Qingtang excuse herself on grounds of poor health, and admit defeat because she was unable to enter the arena. But Elder Qian had refused. Elder Qian felt that Yi Qingtang had worked very hard for half a year. Wouldn't it be too cruel to deprive her of this opportunity? However, he had not expected Elder Chiu to be right next to him when Yi Qingtang entered the arena. Elder Chiu seemed to sense that something was amiss with the Jiang family elders. He could not help but glance at Yi Qingtang, who was in the arena. He saw an extremely beautiful girl with a slender figure, but she was otherwise unassuming. That girl doesn't look familiar. Is your family secretly hiding a trump card up its sleeve? Now that we're all here at the Martial Arts Championship, there's no need to conceal her anymore. Elder Chiu said with a laugh. His words sounded particularly sarcastic on the ears of Elder Qian and the others. How could she possibly be familiar? She had arrived less than half a year ago. Elder Qian and the others were only praying that Yi Qingtang would either be defeated in a single stroke, or hang on and swiftly concede defeat. That would be better than a lingering struggle in the arena, which would further embarrass the Jiang family. Outside the arena, Jiang Yixing, Jiang Xiaobai and the others were looking at Yi Qingtang, who was in the arena. They had no other concerns, and were sincerely cheering Yi Qingtang on. Although this girl's opponent is not very powerful, to her, he is a formidable opponent. I think she will be defeated within 3 moves, Jiang Yiran swaggered over and did not care to filter his words. No one will think you're mute if you don't say anything. Jiang Yixing looked fierce as he retorted. Chapter 1658, A Little Nervous, 2, Oh wow, you're so fierce. I only meant well. Jiang Yiran pursed his lips in the direction of Elder Qian and the others. Right now, the Chiu family elder is waiting for a good show. If the girl loses terribly, she will find it hard to give an account when she returns. It might be better for her to leave the arena early. Jiang Yixing glanced over and sure enough, he saw the smiling Elder Chiu and the Jiang family elders, who were all looking worried. He could not help but panic inwardly. On the other hand, Jiang Xiaobai was completely composed. She looked at Yi Qingtang with shining eyes. Opposite Yi Qingtang stood a slender, but rather ugly youth. Lin Weiyuan of the ancient Lin Lan clan. The youth cupped his fists and introduced himself. In response, Yi Qingtang raised her hands and said, Yi Qingtang from the Jiang family. Lin Weiyuan was startled. He wondered why Yi Qingtang had a different surname, but did not pay much attention to it. Go Qingtang. Jiang Yixing, who was standing outside the arena, was particularly anxious, possibly because of what Jiang Yiran had said. His cheers got louder and louder. Lin Weiyuan was at the second heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. How could Yi Qingtang compete with him? As Lin Weiyuan swept a glance at Jiang Yixing, who was wholeheartedly cheering Yi Qingtang on, he could not help but sneer. Miss Yi certainly has many admirers. Lin Weiyuan had been born ugly, and many people in his family had excluded him and mocked him because of his appearance. He had trained hard to become one of the top 20, and used his skills to prove himself. He despised those who only looked good, but who were otherwise useless. In contrast, Yi Qingtang had been born beautiful. Now many of the youths from her clan were cheering her when she entered the arena, which aroused Lin Weiyuan's contempt. Another pretty face, whose popularity was due to her looks. Of course Yi Qingtang could discern Lin Weiyuan's sarcasm. But when she glanced at Jiang Yixing, who was cheering her on, her eyes were smiling. To Yi Qingtang, the good wishes of her family were always precious. With that, Yi Qingtang looked away, then raised her gaze towards the disdainful Lin Weiyuan. A cold laugh came out from Lin Weiyuan. What a pity that in the arena, we are judged based on our skills and not our looks. If I accidentally disfigure your beautiful face, I hope you won't cry." Yi Qingtang smiled and replied, "I'm actually not worried about that." "Oh." Yi Qingtang glanced at Lin Huayuan's face. "Whether you disfigure me or not makes no difference." Lin Huayuan's expression immediately turned sinister. She dared to call him ugly. Yi Qingtang did not care about looks. 300 years of experience had allowed her to see through the empty shell of beauty. In her previous life, she had lived a long time with a plain face, but she had never allowed it to bother her. Instead, she felt that Lin Huayuan's heart was even uglier than his face. Of course Yi Qingtang would not allow him to have his way. "You have a sharp tongue. Let's see whether you're still so quick with a retort after you've lost." A cold, vicious light flashed across Lin Huayuan's eyes. He drew his sword and rushed forward. Whoosh! Lin Huayuan charged with his sword. A wild wind blew around his legs. Elder Qian and the others on the dais were shocked. They could not help but look worried. She was finished. Who knew what the Yi Qingtang had said to Lin Huayuan? Why was Lin Huayuan rushing forward so aggressively? Chapter 1659, A Little Nervous, 3, Lin Huayuan struck out with his sword and Jiang Yisheng and the others, who were outside the arena, shuddered. It was over. But just as everyone thought Yi Qingtang could not avoid Lin Huayuan's attack, Yi Qingtang turned slightly and avoided Lin Huayuan's sword with an unexpected dexterity. In the same move, she used her hand like a knife and chopped fiercely at the back of Lin Huayuan's neck. Crash! Lin Huayuan, who had been furiously charging towards her just a moment ago, now collapsed to the ground. The force of her blow caused his eyes to roll back in his head. His ugly face twitched and looked even more sinister. Jiang Yisheng, who had been so anxious, was completely bewildered. What was going on? Beside him, Jiang Yiran was also perplexed. He was certain that Yi Qingtang would be defeated ignominiously, but who knew? She had knocked Lin Huayuan out with one blow. Wasn't that too incredible? Elder Qian and the others seated on the dais were also stunned for a long moment. Then their anxiety turned into delight. Yi Qingtang had won. Had she really won? The anxious expressions of Elder Qian and the others were now replaced by broad smiles. They seemed even happier than when Jiang Yenyun had won. But Elder Qiu was expressionless. Lin Huayuan of the ancient Lin Lan clan was one of the weakest of various ancient clans. Even within his Qiu family, any one of them could easily defeat him. However, Elder Qiu could not help but frown when he saw how delighted Elder Qian and the others were. Why were the Jiang family elders so happy when she beat one of the weakest members of the ancient Lin Lan clan? Elder Qiu had already anticipated that Lin Huayuan would lose this match. After all, the ancient Lin Lan clan was weaker than the other ancient clans, and he was one of the least powerful members of his clan. The match had no element of suspense. Could it be that the Jiang family had really fallen so far? Was it simply that they were so overjoyed at beating someone like Lin Huayuan? Perhaps that was the case. Elder Qiu's contempt towards the Jiang family immediately grew a little. That girl's skills were merely average. But look how elated the Jiang family was. What a farce. Many of the other ancient clans had also glanced at the match. But the results were wholly expected and no one was surprised. Only the Jiang family felt as if they had won a prize. I thought that Yi Qingtang was certain to lose. Who knew? Elder Kun's face had a trace of a smile, which was unusual for him. She has worked harder than anyone else for the past 6 months. It must be that after she returned to the Jiang family, the domain monarch founder taught her a little before she left. But she certainly has not wasted our efforts. Elder Qian was smiling. He was the only one who had insisted that Yi Qingtang try her skills at the martial arts championship, so Yi Qingtang's victory naturally made him look good. To anyone outside, it was natural that Yi Qingtang, as a member of the Jiang family, had beaten Lin Weiyuan. But only Elder Qian and the others knew that Yi Qingtang had returned to the Jiang family only half a year ago. She had only become one of the Jiang family's top 20 based on pure luck. It was a complete surprise when she defeated a disciple from another ancient clan. On the dais, Lin Weiyuan was in a dead faint. Yi Qingtang had won this fight. Jiang Yixing cheered and rushed towards Yi Qingtang as she left the arena. "Qingtang, I knew it. You're the best." When the youths from the other ancient clans heard his tones of sincere delight, they all thought Jiang Yixing was a fool. How could she be considered one of the best after beating someone like Lin Weiyuan? "Little girl, you're not too bad, you knew how to catch him unawares. Did you purposely make him angry?" Jiang Yiran had not expected Yi Qingtang to win. When he recalled that Yi Qingtang had enraged Lin Weiyuan before the latter had struck, he thought that it was part of Yi Qingtang's strategy. She purposely infuriated her opponent, then seized the opportunity to strike. Cunning. How cunning. Chapter 1660, Beauty Role, 1, Bullshit. Qingtang won based on her skills. What do you mean by catching him unaware? Jiang Yixing scoffed. Whatever you say. Jiang Yiran rolled his eyes at Jiang Yixing. Yi Qingtang's victory over Lin Weiyuan was unexpected to the youths in the Jiang family. But on another thought, that Lin Weiyuan was not considered highly skilled, and because of this, they did not find it too strange that Yi Qingtang won. Everyone would only have one round of sparring in the martial arts championship, and they were free to rest once their round ended. This was the last match of the day. Most of the people from the Jiang family passed their round, while only a handful were unlucky to meet formidable opponents and failed to advance. All in all, Elder Qian and the others were pretty satisfied with the results from the first day. The matches for the second day were to be decided by drawing lots, thus everyone was still unfamiliar with their next opponent. After the matches, Yi Qingtang and the rest looked for a place to indulge in a meal. As everyone from the various ancient clans were on the island of immortal footsteps, all eateries and lodgings are also within the boundaries. When they arrived at the island of immortal footsteps restaurant, it was already exceptionally packed. Most of the youths from all the ancient clans were gathered here to have a good meal. Of course, the victors were joyous while the losers were not in the mood and were silently nursing their emotional pain in their rooms. Squeezing through the crowd, Yi Qingtang and the group found an empty table at a corner and sat down. Jiang Xiaobai ordered plenty of dishes at once and subsequently sprawled on the table as though he was about to fall asleep anytime soon. On the other hand, Jiang Yixing and the others were boasting about their impressive performances in the arena. All of a sudden, there was a sudden flurry of excitement in the restaurant and many people looked out of the restaurant. Always one to get in on the action, Jiang Yixing could not help but follow the crowd to look out as well, only to almost salivate. Mu Feiruo. It's Mu Feiruo. My goddess. Outside the restaurant was a cool and elegant lady in cyan clothes, who was escorted into the restaurant by a crowd of people. Despite the large crowd of people revolving around her, Mu Feiruo remained expressionless as though she was not involved in this boisterous situation. Beside Mu Feiruo was a sweet-looking girl who was all smiles. The girl bore some resemblance with Mu Feiruo, but both had completely different dispositions. Is that Mu Ruxue? A youth from the Jiang family asked when he saw that pretty girl. It should be. Mu Ruxue is Mu Ruxue's younger sister. I heard that she is very talented as well and that she will be displaying her skills in the martial arts championship this year. Although she does look quite similar to my goddess is still the prettiest to me. Jiang Yixing was smitten and his saliva was drooping as he stared at Mu Feiruo's aloof face. When paired with this love-struck expression, his normally attractive facial features were truly wasted and all the group felt about him was disgust. Mu Feiruo went to the second floor of the restaurant quickly and happened to sit not far away from Jiang Yisheng. As Jiang Yisheng had adored Mu Feiruo for a long time, he was ecstatic to be able to interact with her at such close distance and stared at his goddess face to the best of his abilities from his seat in the corner. How can there be such a beautiful lady in the world? Jiang Yisheng was completely besotted. As he was caught up in his staring, there was suddenly a slap on his head and he immediately turned around with a glare. Chapter 1661, Beauty Roll, 2, Wipe that disgusting look off your face before someone sees it and you embarrass the Jiang family. Jiang Yiran and a few of the other Jiang family youths walked over. They looked disdainful when they saw Jiang Yisheng's besotted expression. What's it to you? Why do you keep stalking me? Jiang Yisheng was infuriated. Oh, whatever do you mean? It should be me that's asking why you keep appearing before my eyes. You're hurting them. Jiang Yiran did not give an inch. Jiang Yisheng glared at him. He could not be bothered to quibble with the latter. It was a rare chance to be near Mu Feiruo, so he would not waste any time on this scum. Is Mu Feiruo that beautiful? Jiang Yiran glanced at Mu Feiruo. Although he thought she was not bad-looking, she was not stunning. Of course. Mu Feiruo was the most beautiful girl in the last martial arts championship, Jiang Yisheng said frankly. Jiang Yiran smiled before he cast a sly glance at Yi Qingtang, who was sitting nearby. I think her younger sister, Mu Ruxue, is much better looking. But, don't you think that this little girl is even prettier than Mu Feiruo and Mu Ruxue? Yi Qingtang, please let me off. If she had known that Jiang Yiran would hold a grudge for so long, she would not have fought him earlier. He was such a pest. Jiang Yisheng was about to protest, but when he saw that Yi Qingtang did not look provoked, he calmed down. Objectively speaking, Yi Qingtang was definitely a rare beauty. No matter how hard Jiang Yisheng tried, he could not find a single flaw in Yi Qingtang's features. Xiaobai, what do you think? Jiang Yiran said with a laugh. Jiang Xiaobai's head was on the table and he lazily raised his eyes. Unusual. Jiang Yiran did not understand. Jiang Xiaobai said, "You finally said something sensible." Jiang Yiran felt his chest ache. Why was this fellow's tongue so wicked? Elder sister Qing is the most beautiful. Jiang Xiaobai looked smilingly at Yi Qingtang, his sharp tongue practically dripping with honey. Please completely ignore Yi Qingtang. Thank you. Jiang Yiran rubbed his chest and replied, I heard that during every martial arts championship, besides a ranking of abilities, there is also a beauty ranking. They identify the most beautiful girl in the martial arts championship. Mu Feiruo came in first in the last championship. I think this time, the little girl has a chance. By now, Yi Qingtang really wanted to kick Jiang Yiran. Jiang Yiran and the others were still making mocking comments when Mu Ruxue, who was sitting nearby, suddenly looked in their direction. What's the matter? Bailey Xianyun was sitting with Mu Ruxue and Mu Feiruo, and he could not help but ask when he saw the direction of Mu Ruxue's glance. Bailey Xianyun ranked as the 10th most powerful figure in the last martial arts championship. It was because of this that he was friendly with Mu Feiruo. It was no surprise that Bailey Xianyun liked Mu Feiruo looks and the Mu family's power, so he intended to develop a closer relationship with her. But Mu Feiruo was cold by nature, and it had not been easy. At that point, Mu Ruxue had turned up. Mu Ruxue was Mu Feiruo's younger sister and the apple of the Mu family master's eye. Although she was not as talented as Mu Feiruo, she was slightly younger and much more lively. So Bailey Xianyun had decided to target Mu Ruxue instead. Bailey Xianyun was proud of his own talents and his position in the Bailey family was fairly high. But he was always being repressed by Bailey Shi. This made him discontented, so he intended to find another way out. Chapter 1662, Beauty Role, 3, Bailey Xianyun was currently taking the opportunity to draw close to Mu Rushue, so it was no surprise that all his attention was on her. I saw an irritating fly that kept buzzing. It's so noisy. Mu Ruxu's elegant brow furrowed. She glanced at Yi Qingtang's features and a look of displeasure flashed across her eyes. Bailey Xianyun followed Mu Ruxu's gaze and saw a group of youths from the Jiang family who seemed to be discussing something. With their current abilities, no word in this restaurant could escape their ears if they so chose. But they usually did not bother to pay attention to others. When she thought of the Jiang family's nasty comments, Mu Rushue grew unhappy. If younger sister Rushue thinks it's too noisy here, we can eat somewhere else next time. Bailey Xianyun smiled, and tried to appear as gracious as possible. Which clan is at that table? Mu Rushue asked. The domain monarch's Jiang family. Jiang family, Mu Rushue paused, then her lips curled in amusement. Right now, the Jiang family is only supported by the domain monarch himself. The Jiang family hasn't produced anyone outstanding for years. It doesn't matter whether they participate in this martial arts championship or not. Bailey Xianyun also smiled. Right now, the Jiang family was experiencing a gap in their talents. Of the older generation, only the domain monarch was outstanding, but the younger generation could not compete with the youths of the other ancient clans. They had slowly become a laughing stock at the martial arts championships. Elder brother Xianyun, don't you agree? Mu Rushue raised her eyes and looked at Bailey Xianyun expectantly. In response, Bailey Xianyun only nodded with an indulgent smile. Beside them, Mu Feiruo had remained silent all this while, but her glance swept over Mu Rushue, Yi Qingtang and the others at her table. She knew Mu Rushue all too well, and she already knew what Mu Rushue was thinking. Elder brother Xianyun, is there a beauty ranking during the martial arts championship? Mu Rushue suddenly asked. There is something like that, but it's just a foolish thing that the youths of the different clans do in their free time. It's not anything formal. Although it was just something that was judged privately, everyone recognized it. Mu Feiruo had come in top in the beauty ranking, which was why her reputation for beauty had spread through the entire mainland. She had even been called the most beautiful woman in the central mainland. Mu Ruxu's eyes flickered. She was confident that she was more beautiful than anyone else. Even the frosty Mu Feiruo could not compare with her. As for any others, Mu Rushue glanced at Yi Qingtang and a disdainful smile appeared in her eyes. At that moment, the beautiful sounds of a zither rang out in the restaurant. A beautiful young girl was sitting by the window, softly caressing the strings of a zither. The light filtered through the window and illuminated her, making her look incredibly beautiful. All the youths from the various ancient clans were eating in the restaurant. At the moment, they all looked over and admired the sight of a beautiful girl playing the zither. The beauty ranking that younger sister Rushue mentioned has just started, Bailey Xianyun said with a smile. What do you mean? Mu Rushue looked baffled. Bailey Xianyun explained, the beauty ranking usually begins after the matches have ended. All the girls who wish to participate will display their looks at a place where the various clans are gathered. Look, that girl hasn't said a word, but when she started playing the zither, everyone focused their attention on her, and naturally they would also notice her looks. To be considered the most beautiful woman in the martial arts championship was akin to being acknowledged as the most beautiful woman in central mainland. Naturally, all the young girls from the various clans were happy to compete. Chapter 1663, Careless Words Cause Trouble. 1. Mu Rushue glanced at the girl plucking her delicate fingers over the zither. Although she was unusually beautiful, her looks were far inferior. Mu Ruxu's lips curled and she took a jade flute from her space ring and began to play it. The beautiful sound of the flute mingled with that of the zither, and everyone looked at Mu Rushue. All the youths were amazed when they saw her extraordinary beauty. Given that the matches during the martial arts championship were so intense, no one would go out of their way to notice someone's looks. Only now could they relax and admire them. The girl playing the zither soon realized that everyone's gaze was fixed on Mu Wuxia. When she saw Mu Wuxia's beauty, and that she was from the Mu family, she decided to retreat and her zither slowly trailed away. This martial arts championship is so interesting. Do the girls of the various ancient clans all pursue such leisurely activities? They must be so carefree. Jiang Yiran propped his chin on one hand and muttered to himself as he looked at this strange competition. But Mu Wuxia is exceptionally beautiful. She's still not as good-looking as my goddess. Jiang Yisheng was adamant and would not be swayed. Jiang Shaobai glanced at Jiang Yisheng with a strange expression. Yi Qingtang was not at all interested in who was the most beautiful, or the beauty ranking. She was completely focused on the martial arts championship. With her skills, she should be able to manage the next few matches. But if she wanted to be one of the top 10, she had to enter the fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. But now, her abilities seemed to have stopped advancing. This troubled Yi Qingtang greatly. The beauty rankings were created by a secret ballot. If anyone felt that a girl was particularly beautiful, he could write her name down and put it in a wooden box in the restaurant. On the last day, the box would be opened and the votes counted. Under the influence of Mu Wuxia's flute, many of them intended to write down her name. I thought that Mu Feirua was already an exceptional beauty. I did not realize that this Mu Wuxia would be even more exquisite. I think that Mu Wuxia will certainly claim the title of the most beautiful girl this year. I heard that Mu Wuxia is extremely talented, no less so than Mu Feirua. The youths had nothing better to do, so they started to murmur among themselves. Mu Wuxia contentedly watched the crowd's reaction. Her lips curved in a satisfied smile. By now, Jiang Shaobai had lost interest in his food when he saw Mu Wuxia's attitude. He suddenly got up, dragging Yi Qingtang with him. Elder sister Qing, let's go back. Yi Qingtang also wanted to leave early to cultivate, so she immediately rose and left with Jiang Shaobai. When Yi Qingtang first arrived, the youths from the various ancient clans who were in the restaurant were busy chatting, and no one had noticed her in the crowd. But at that moment, everyone's attention was focused on Mu Wuxia. Yi Qingtang and the others were seated near her, and when Jiang Shaobai and Yi Qingtang rose to leave, they appeared in everyone's line of sight. Ah, who is that? So irritating. Don't block our view, a youth could not help but shout. But just as his words left his mouth, he did a double take. He saw a gorgeous young girl slowly walking towards the stairs. The girl was absolutely expressionless. In fact, her elegant brow was slightly furrowed. It wrung their hearts to see the cares that she bore on her brow. If Mu Wuxia's looks could be compared to the bright sun, radiant and dazzling, then this girl's looks were like a lonely orchid in a deserted valley. Her appearance caused everything around her to vanish, leaving only the unforgettable image of her beauty. Chapter 1664, Careless Words Cause Trouble. 2. Many noticed Yi Qingtang. A single glance was sufficient for them to exclaim over her beauty. For a moment, a strange silence blanketed the entire restaurant. Yi Qingtang did not notice. Her eyes were lowered as she considered how to pass through the threshold of the next stage. Instead, it was Jiang Shaobai who noticed that everyone's focus had fallen on Yi Qingtang. Jiang Shaobai immediately frowned and he quickened his steps as he dragged Yi Qingtang along, before they swiftly disappeared from sight. A beautiful girl had left, leaving behind only images of her loveliness. The youths could not help but continue gazing in her direction. When Mu Wuxia saw this, she almost snapped the jade flute in her hand. Younger sister Wuxia. Bailey Xianyun had been observing Mu Wuxia closely, and had not seen the others leave. Mu Wuxia bit her lips. She angrily turned her face, looking annoyed. Who was she? That girl only had to walk past the crowd to attract their attention. Was she any less beautiful than that girl? Bailey Xianyun was completely befuddled by Mu Rukshu's apparent irritation. He subconsciously looked around and saw everyone's reaction, and the disappearing figure. His eyes flickered as comprehension dawned. Younger sister Rushue, if anyone has annoyed you, I will make her unhappy too, Bailey Xianyun suddenly said with a smile. Mu Rushue frowned slightly and glanced at Bailey Xianyun. What do you mean? Younger sister Rushue, why compare yourself with commoners? They may be good-looking, but what use is that to them? They probably won't last more than a few more rounds. Younger sister Rushue, you are not only gorgeous, but also much more talented than most girls. Why compare yourself with others? Bailey Xianyun assured her with a smile. Bailey Xianyun words caused Mu Rukshu's brow to smoothen out. Nearby, Mu Feiruo looking on coldly, and did not say a word. Early the next day, they drew lots as usual. Yi Qingtang drew an opponent whose abilities were similar to Lin Weiyuan, and was one of the bottom few in the martial arts championship. With yesterday's battle behind them, the worried elder Qian and his companions were slightly more relaxed. Jiang Yixing drew a person whose abilities were on par with his. He glanced at Jiang Yiran's opponent and burst out laughing. Huh, you're actually fighting Mu Rushue? Your luck is just too good. Jiang Yixing did not even try to hide his amusement. With the exception of Mu Feiruo, Mu Rushue was the most powerful person in the Mu family. Rumor had it that Mu Rushue was as talented as Mu Feiruo. If she were not a few years younger, with her talent, she would certainly be one of the top 10, or even the top 5 in the martial arts championship. Even so, Mu Rukshu's current abilities were already terrifying. While Jiang Yixing was in a good mood, but Jiang Yiran looked gloomy. He had not expected to draw Mu Rukshu's lot. Although he was confident in his own abilities, Jiang Yiran was well aware of the disparity between himself and Mu Rushue. With Mu Rukshu's abilities, she was probably on par with Jiang Yenyun or Jiang Shaobai. How unlucky! Jiang Yiran felt he had been extremely unfortunate to get Mu Rushue in the second round. Yi Qingtang's batch was one of the first ones, and it was soon her turn to enter the arena. Her opponent this time was similar to her previous opponent, so it was easy to beat him. Elder Qian and the others had some idea of her abilities now and were not too surprised. They felt that Yi Qingtang's luck was pretty good, as both her opponents were not too powerful. This allowed her to have more practice as she competed in the martial arts championship. Chapter 1665, Careless Words Cause Trouble. 3. It was soon Jiang Yiran's turn to enter the arena. Mu Rushue was dressed in a long, pink dress and looked exquisite. As Jiang Yiran took in her slender figure, he was completely on high alert, his entire focus on his opponent. Mu Rushue soon made her move. As she raised her sword, the light glittered off it, forming a magnificent display. She looked as if she was poised to dance. Meanwhile, Jiang Yiran was fighting hard. Mu Rukshu's moves looked casual, but every one of them was lethal. After exchanging a few blows, Jiang Yiran was hard-pressed into a disadvantageous position. Isn't that fellow, Jiang Yiran, usually very arrogant? How come he's losing so fast now that he's fighting Mu Rushue? Jiang Yixing was somewhat surprised as he watched the match. In Taiyuan Valley, Jiang Yiran's abilities were top-notch. In the entire Taiyuan Valley, there were few who could beat him. They had not expected him to be forced into a tight corner so soon when fighting Mu Rushue. Yi Qingtang inwardly exclaimed as she watched Mu Rushue fight. Mu Rukshu's abilities were truly exceptional. No wonder she was the second most powerful figure in the Mu family. Jiang Yiran was probably no match for her. In the arena, Jiang Yiran also realized the disparity between himself and Mu Rushue. He suddenly realized that Mu Rukshu's blows were coming hard and fast, aggressively raining down on him one after another. It even looked as if she wanted to kill him. How had he offended Wuxia? Why was she fighting so viciously? Jiang Yiran was puzzled, but Wuxia did not give him any chances. After many moves, Jiang Yiran sustained multiple injuries. Just as Jiang Yiran was about to admit defeat, Wuxia's sword suddenly sliced at Jiang Yiran's eyes and he broke out in cold sweat. Instinctively, he raised his hand to block the sword and received a bone-deep gash across his arm. How have I offended you, that you want to blind me? Jiang Yiran was enraged as he glared furiously at Wuxia. Wuxia laughed coldly and looked at Jiang Yiran mockingly. You're already blind. You can't even distinguish the ugly from the beautiful. I might as well destroy your eyes. What did that mean? Jiang Yiran was puzzled. He suddenly remembered how he had teased Yi Qingtang yesterday, and how he had said that Wuxia and Feirua were not as beautiful as Yi Qingtang. So that was why Wuxia was trying to kill him. It was just a few joking words, but she remembered them and hated him for it. Wuxia did not give Jiang Yiran any time to breathe. She raised her sword and advanced once again. Jiang Yiran was already injured, and after a few more moves, Wuxia forced him out of the arena. Just as Jiang Yiran fell out of the arena, Wuxia's sword breath suddenly flew towards his eyes. She was clearly determined to blind Jiang Yiran. At that instant, Jiang Yanyan's figure appeared in front of Jiang Yiran. He raised his sword and dispersed Wuxia's sword breath, but even so the force of it caused his chest to go numb. Wuxia stood proudly in the arena. She snorted softly, then turned to leave. Thank you, elder brother Yun. Jiang Yiran stood up painfully. If Jiang Yanyan had not acted, that vicious woman would have definitely blinded him. Jiang Yiran, what happened to you? Jiang Yisheng meant to seize the opportunity to insult Jiang Yiran, but when he saw Jiang Yiran's sorry state, the words stuck in his throat. Jiang Yiran laughed bitterly. His gaze fell on Yi Qingtang, who was next to Jiang Yisheng. Well, I was teasing you the other day and that lunatic now bears a grudge against me. Little girl, you had better watch out. Jiang Yiran had not expected his careless words to almost get him killed. Yi Qingtang was taken aback, then recalled Jiang Yiran's teasing words from before. Jiang Yiran had spoken thoughtlessly, and no one had paid much attention to it. Had Wuxia acted so viciously just because of that? What do you mean? What does Wuxia trying to kill you have to do with Qingtang? Jiang Yisheng was confused. Jiang Yiran glared at Jiang Yisheng. Why won't you believe me when I say you're stupid? SSS, Jiang Yiran suddenly cried out in pain. Ugh, I can't be bothered to explain it to you. I was too careless with my words, and somehow offended that lunatic. Chapter 1666, A Bet, 1. Jiang Yisheng still wanted to ridicule Jiang Yiran a little more, but when he saw Jiang Yiran's downtrodden state, he swallowed his words. Meanwhile in the spectator area, Elder Qian and the others were a little regretful when they saw that Jiang Yiran had lost. Wuxia is truly as talented as she is rumored to be. Jiang Yiran is one of the exceptionally talented youths in the Jiang family, but he was no match for her. Elder Qian sighed quietly. Probably only Jiang Yanyan and Jiang Shaobai are able to compete with Wuxia. But it looks like there are many talented figures in this martial arts championship. I really can't tell how things will go. Elder Kun also looked helpless. This year, they had pinned all their hopes on Jiang Yanyan and Jiang Shaobai. If even the two of them could not get into the top 10, then the Jiang family's reputation would take a hit. The second round of matches were not as light-hearted. Many Jiang family members lost. Jiang Yiran might have lost that day, but unlike the other losers, he did not stay in his room and sulk. Instead, he followed Yi Qingtang and the others to eat. He tagged along until Jiang Yisheng was so irritated he wanted to kick Jiang Yiran away. Get lost, get lost. Leave us alone. Go look for your Jiang Yanyan. Why are you here to make trouble for us? Jiang Yisheng shooed him away as he would a chick. Jiang Yiran still smiled cheekily and said, elder brother Yun is not leaving his room for the next few days in order to prepare for the upcoming matches. We are all from the same family, why can't we have a meal together? Can't you see I'm injured? Where's your sympathy? No wonder your female goddess doesn't like you. Oh, actually, to be precise, your female goddess hasn't even noticed you. Jiang Yisheng was so angry he wanted to strangle him. If not for the fact that he was no match for Jiang Yiran, he would certainly fight him. Jiang Yiran sat at their table, forcefully squeezing his way in. He looked at Yi Qingtang, who was waiting for her food next to him, and he winked at her meaningfully. Little girl, I put your name in the box just now. Yi Qingtang's eyes widened slightly. She vaguely remembered that the votes in the box represented the beauty ranking. What was he up to? Please let me off. That lunatic must have something wrong with her brain. She's so ugly. I would rather vote for a pig than vote for her. Jiang Yiran was furious with Mu Ruxue, who had tried to kill him. Yi Qingtang, who had been called pig for no reason, silently glared at Jiang Yiran. She really wanted to kick him down the stairs. Was he complimenting her or scolding her? What did you say? Before Yi Qingtang could kick Jiang Yiran, a shrill female voice rang out. Jiang Yiran turned and saw that Mu Ruxue had entered the restaurant at some point. At that moment, Mu Ruxue's beautiful little face was completely distorted. She had clearly overheard Jiang Yiran's words. Since Jiang Yiran had already lost and they weren't in the arena, he had nothing to fear. He looked at Mu Ruxue's furious face and said evilly, what I said is none of your business. What's the matter? Does the Mu family want to control what other people say? You jerk, how dare you insult me? Mu Ruxue had always been treasured and praised. How could she bear it when Jiang Yiran insulted her and said she was not even comparable to a pig? Chapter 1667, A Bet, 2, Who has the time to scold you? I'm scolding the lunatic. Does Miss Mu think she is the lunatic? Jiang Yiran raised his brow fearlessly. Mu Ruxue quivered with rage at his insolence. Jiang Yiran felt even better when he saw Mu Ruxue's livid expression. He spoke again, everyone can vote as they please in the beauty rankings. I think our family's Qingtang is gorgeous. What business is it of yours if I vote for her? Do you have a problem if I think she's the prettiest? Do you think you're very beautiful? Let's see if you're prettier than the little girl. Yi Qingtang, who had been targeted out of the blue, she had made a mistake. She should have kicked Jiang Yiran down the stairs long ago. Then he would not be here, making enemies for her like a crazy person. Yi Qingtang looked at Mu Ruxue's livid face and the startled glances of the diners. She wondered if Jiang Yiran was trying to kill two birds with one stone. Like this, he would pay Mu Ruxue back and also annoy her at the same time. Who is she to compete with me? Mu Ruxue laughed coldly. Yi Qingtang, yes, you are the most beautiful person in the world. You're so amazingly beautiful, all right? Ah, you're so funny. In what way is our Tang Tang unfit to compete with you? Your looks are far inferior to that of our Tang Tang. Do you want to top the beauty ranking? Do you want to be the most beautiful girl in the martial arts championship? Dream on. Wait and see. On the last day, the most beautiful girl will be our Tang Tang. Mu Ruxue had almost blinded Jiang Yiran. He certainly would not forgive her for that. Even if he could not beat Mu Ruxue, he would annoy her to death. Mu Ruxue had clearly become Jiang Yiran's #1 enemy. Yi Qingtang broke out in goosebumps as he repeatedly called her Tang Tang. Jiang Xiaobai was sitting nearby and his expression also darkened. If circumstances had permitted, Yi Qingtang would have struck Jiang Yiran down with a sword. This devil was making trouble. Ah, Mu Ruxue was so angry that she laughed instead. I have never been afraid to compete with someone based on looks. Mu Ruxue looked at Yi Qingtang and she proudly raised her chin in provocation. Yi Qingtang. Well, wait and see who tops the beauty ranking on the last day. Then let's see. I'm just afraid you won't be able to compete. Jiang Yiran replied with vim. What happens if you lose? If I lose, I will publicly disfigure myself and be ugly for the rest of my life, Mu Ruxue snapped out in spite. If anything, Jiang Yiran was even more delighted with her declaration. All right. Then if she loses, she must do the same. Mu Ruxue pointed at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was about to refuse this ridiculous bet, but Jiang Yiran answered first. No problem. Oh. Who is so brave as to make this kind of bet with Ruxue? An amused voice suddenly rang out. Everyone turned towards the sound. At some point, Bailey Xianyun had appeared in the restaurant, and Mu Feiruo was standing next to him. Everyone was stunned. Mu Ruxue grew even more furious when she saw Bailey Xianyun and Mu Feiruo. She pointed to Yi Qingtang, who had been silent all this time, and spat out, her. Yi Qingtang felt that if she kept quiet any longer, Jiang Yiran would get her into even worse trouble. So she said, I'm not interested in this bet, and I also have no interest in the beauty rankings. You're the most beautiful person in the world, all right? She had no interest in comparing herself with others. Chapter 1668, A Bet, 3. Even though Yi Qingtang had spoken, Mu Ruxue had no intention of letting her off. Why? Are you scared now that you've seen elder brother Xianyun and my elder sister? Where's your pride? Yi Qingtang, let me tell you, I, Mu Ruxue, have already agreed to this bet. So you have to bet as well, whether you want to or not. Sorry, please excuse me, Yi Qingtang said. Mu Ruxue was even more angry, but Bailey Xianyun pulled her back. Younger sister Ruxue, since she has some self-awareness, there is no need to force her. But, Mu Ruxue refused to concede. Bailey Xianyun smiled and looked at Yi Qingtang dismissively. Miss, since you don't want to bet, we won't force you. But just now, all of you bullied Ruxue with your careless words, so we can't just let the matter drop. We're not unreasonable people. If you are unwilling to gamble, then just admit that you've lost and disfigure yourself now. Then we won't make things difficult for you anymore. Bailey Xianyun sounded polite, but his words were infuriating. What did you say? Who are you to make Qingtang disfigure herself? Jiang Yixing immediately lost his temper. Bailey Xianyun smiled, but was indifferent to Jiang Yixing's rage. It's alright if you don't want to disfigure yourself. If you can beat me, we will drop the matter. Bailey Xianyun deliberately pretended to be generous. By now, the faces of Jiang Yixing and the others immediately darkened to a pitch black. In contrast, Mu Ruxue looked incredibly smug. Beat Bailey Xianyun? What kind of joke was this? Bailey Xianyun had been one of the top 10 in the last martial arts championship. Over the past few years, he had grown from strength to strength. Now in the entire Jiang family, probably only Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai could match him. The rest did not even dare to think about it. Yi Qingtang had only come to the valley half a year ago, and was the last of the Jiang family's top 20. Fighting Bailey Xianyun would be akin to seeking her own death. That's as good as not saying anything. You're just forcing Qingtang to disfigure herself. Jiang Yixing had never met anyone as shameless as Bailey Xianyun. How dare he make such a request? I've already said that I don't want to make things difficult for her. I've already given you two choices, you can make your own decision. Or can it be that, your Jiang family's younger generation has declined to the point that you don't even have the courage to fight someone? Bailey Xianyun said mockingly. No one had anticipated this turn of events. Jiang Yiran was also taken aback. He just wanted to annoy Mu Wuxia, but had forgotten that he was also getting Yi Qingtang into deep trouble. Put on the spot like this, Jiang Yiran was embarrassed. Although he was always needling Yi Qingtang, he was really innocent this time. His sole purpose had been to annoy Mu Wuxia, and he had forgotten that the crucial person in this bet was Yi Qingtang and not himself. And then Bailey Xianyun had appeared and blown up the incident even further. I was the one who spoke carelessly, and I was also the one who made the bet. I caused this incident. If you're displeased, I'll apologize to you now. Jiang Yiran gritted his teeth as he suddenly stood up and spoke up. Although he was proud and rather perverse, he was no coward. Now that he had created trouble, he would not allow Yi Qingtang to take the blame. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.